And we're recording.
Okay, hello everybody and welcome to our final week of Jesters. Kopy's already hiding his face. He's embarrassed to hear all of the energy coming through the microphone because it's me, Coach Dub, Warren Sprague, coach of Del Sol, and I'm back for our final rundown of weekly shows for our 12th season of High School Jesters. It's all been digital, you guys know that, and congratulations, League, right here, right up front, for getting through the season. We are so proud and stoked of everybody who turned in their work this week to complete the season, and Kopy, you're here. You've watched it all, man. How was our week 8 performance, our final round of performances going into the playoffs, which start, well, this weekend?
Yeah. Some teams have already recorded for it.
Oh
So,
boy. Some have already submitted what could be their final games of the year. That's sort of sad.
You know, week 8 was a lot of things, a lot of tests, a lot of what would happen if we did this. Some teams trying to bring back another game to give it another run. Even some mixed emotions in places, because just like you said, this, we're at the end here, and despite the way the year has been, I mean, we've really just all had a bunch of fun coming together and do this. So, if any of you that are just like, man, sometimes it's just hard to go click into improv because we've always got, so much to do or this show to record for. Stop for a second. Remember how much fun you had, how many times you laughed. Had a lot of conversation with coaches. Had a couple of coaches crying about their seniors graduating.
Yeah.
I talked to Gabe from Las Vegas a little bit ago. Everyone but one is graduating for him. All of them.
Oh, man. Got to turn over a new leaf there.
Yep. So it's just, we're at that time of year. So we'll smile and we'll talk and we'll praise week 8. We'll do a little playoff talk at the end, and then go into playoffs next week. As much as it's bittersweet, playoffs is always better than season. So it's really important that the playoff system lives and breathes and has its own part of this league, because that's what we're doing it for. We're all working towards something, and it makes us all better in every category. So week 8, awesome, and also very excited for next week.
Well, I'm excited to break down all of the games from week 8, but Jester's Court, we've got a special treat for you. We wanted to also discuss what the playoffs look like. This will be our final shot to really discuss it, Kopy, and take a look at each of the first round matchups, go over which schools are enjoying a bye heading into week 2, and kind of see what we think each team can do to make a deep run. And guys, I just want to say, having watched plenty of improv this season, how much each of your schools has a chance to shock on any given day. It's amazing how technology and chemistry can combine to make a tumult of different outcomes. So for any school who's hanging their head thinking that they're just playing, to leave in week 1, don't, because that's going to defeat you right up front. Get ready for the biggest week of the year and be proud of what you've done. These last 8 weeks of pseudo competition, we're all for this. And no matter what, we want you kids to know that your creativity has value and that you have a shot at making a deep run in this digital age. So be ready. We'll be talking about that after shows from a hat. And Kopy, if you'd like, I could just jump right into it, bud.
Yep. So to be clear, playoffs we're going to talk about after week 8. Everybody,
this is
sitting here listening right now. Week 8 first. And then we'll talk playoffs. Yeah, man. Let's go. Let's rock.
We're fixing for a nice long one, and we're going to kick it off with a fun matchup. For week 8, how about East Tech and that Las Vegas team you were just breaking down? East Tech and Las Vegas kicks us off.
How fitting. It always seems to work this way, doesn't it?
Hey, man, it's pretty remarkable.
So here's the cool thing about this one is that you've got 2 best friends that are the head coaches of this.
Yeah.
And there's probably no 2 schools that are closer to each other than Las Vegas and East Tech. So Romeo, East Tech coach, and Gabe, Las Vegas coach, and now Luis is a part of the Las Vegas family. They basically tried to film their entire show together. So they both did play one game apart, but like, for example, East Tech submitted Switch Interview, but they just used Las Vegas, and Las Vegas submitted Tag Out, and they just used East Tech.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool. Like when we got to the coin toss, Jenais and Anthony were already so comfortable with each other. Like it was noticeably like, oh wow, you guys already know each other, which doesn't surprise me because of Gabe and Romeo.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so that was kind of cool for me to just kind of see that because I mean, we could have made the choice in the beginning of the year to do like full on Zoom competitions where we're all in a Zoom together and trying to go through that. That could have been a choice we made. I chose to not do that because I thought we could still get the same value out of doing it the way we did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't disagree still now that we're looking back.
Sure.
Maybe I should have said this up front, but almost 100 hours of improv is online right now.
Whew.
So and here's what this means. So there were 84 shows this season.
Yep.
If we would have done that in person, that would have been 84 hours because Kopy keeps it tight to the hour.
He
We
sure
have almost
certainly does.
100, which means we almost added a whole entire week on top of our
Mm-hmm.
season because of doing it online.
Right.
So wow. And online gives you more because our coaches' intros. How long does it take to listen to Roman do that intro? Or anytime we got to play 6 things, how long does it take to get those suggestions? Right.
Right.
So we got almost an entire extra week in this season. Wow.
Awesome stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because you
Um,
kids wanted to play it. Like, let's be real. I mean, it's just because you kids were out there sharing your creativity and pushing your envelopes, and it's just real fun to see. And I bet this show did have that really awesome chemistry because kiddos, especially seniors who are getting ready to graduate, there's several small troops of improvisers who've been waiting to resurface while all of this pandemic stuff has been happening. And Coach Romeo and Coach Gabe, they're collectively known as the Fishermen, and they're one of those improv troops that you guys could definitely, I mean, hey, talk to your coaches after you graduate. Let them know you're open to
it-
doing more improv if you'd like, because you never know. And I'm sure the chemistry really shone through in this one, huh?
yeah, it's pretty cool to see Gabe and Romeo still kind of together after all these years and still going at it
Yep.
and what the fishermen do and all the neat little ideas that they have. But getting back to the actual kids, I'm going to start with East Tech. So East Tech played melodrama, and we've said that a couple of times already this year, which is so weird to say.
Right. We've got
Um,
about 7 or 8 of them, huh?
yeah, and what I liked about this year in particular is that everyone's versions or take on games sometimes varied, and this was definitely a different take on melodrama.
Okay.
So if I were to talk to you about, what is Kopy's way of doing melodrama, it's not going to be the way East Tech did it. They
Okay.
just really had a different vibe for how to play it. So I always am big about different vibes. So
Right.
a lot of times I'll talk about these score sheets and I'll I won't even talk about the game that had the best score. I'm going to talk about the weird stuff he did.
Right.
And that's basically what melodrama was. Connor's style from East Tech is so appropriate for this league. I don't know if Connor's heart, like I don't know how much he loves this league or not. I just have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
But man, does this league need your like weird perspective, all these weird things you do. I'm hoping online helped like bring you in and we keep you until the day you graduate. So love your style, love your perspective. Kit, you've been doing it all year long,
Oh yeah.
even in the simplest of moments. When you've got big Connor's personality next to you, Kylan's sharpness, Anthony's weird accents. Anthony keeps talking about eggs when he talks about accents. Uh, Kit, even in the simplest of moments, like you really give a lot. So flip it over to Las Vegas. Man, these four girls, like just know that like your effort is not going unnoticed. Like this was it. Like I think you knew that this was the final show of the season, and that's how you played. So kind of cool, like really really cool. Um,
Lots of
uh,
unity and lots of picking up where others left off, and
yeah, yeah,
just
and
a real poise, huh?
Forward Reverse was their first game, at least on the line, or at least in the show it was. I don't know when they played it in their order, but For Diverse to me was my favorite for them. They really just kind of grasped it. I mean, even Anaya just simply going back to her back wall, like that was in the background of the room she was in, and then
Mhm.
having to run forward and then run back to the wall and run forward. Just those simple things. For me, Jenais clearly has comfort in being silly. And this kind of convinced me that you have that side of you. I know Metzley's got it. Like Metzley's always had it, and Metzley definitely showed plenty of it in this one. But Jenais now, you kind of can't go backwards. So you four girls just have to do what you just did and do it in the playoffs. And I mean, win or lose, just know that you're putting out good work. And I know you're going to walk away smiling about what you did this year. So good stuff all the way around.
Yeah, sounds like a solid show. Go back and check that out. The fisherman schools go toe to toe to cap off the season. What a great way to start our rundown. I've got another piece of paper with some scribble on it, and this one's going to be Green Valley and Pahrump.
Okay.
Keeping it in the east, sir, so far, even though Pahrump is so far west.
Kinda, right?
Kind of, sort of. Yeah,
Yeah.
cough.
Um, okay, so on the Green Valley side of it, Green Valley ran without Kiana this week.
Whoa!
Yeah, well, I think you want to test it. You want to see what you
Yeah,
do when you
yeah,
don't have your juggernaut. And
yeah.
Kiana definitely has turned into the juggernaut.
True. Got to see
For
what the
them.
future looks like for that school.
Yep. You know what I like? I like Isabella's ability to just be smooth in
Mm.
everything she does. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's a lot of moving parts with Green Valley. So Kiana has the ability to be powerful and add a
Right.
bunch,
Yep.
and Riley we talk about to the end of the earth. And
Yeah.
Rufus, you know what? To me, this was Rufus's week. But even with all that being said, everything that Isabella does is just so smooth and
Right.
crisp, and it allows us to find humor in small spots. Um, so that's what I was appreciating this show. Heck, it, there was a moment where Rufus took a good second brain turn in the scene and called out a Yeti, and and of all people, you won't believe who came in as the Yeti.
I'm gonna say it was the only other name you haven't mentioned yet. Aaliyah?
Yep, Aaliyah comes in as the Yeti,
Sweet.
which we have been waiting for Aaliyah to be the Yeti all year.
Yep.
So great choice, but that shows you just some of the good work they did in this particular week.
Yep.
And then even a good closing line on that scene, Aaliyah's Yeti, I'm alone line. Real good close to that. So Rufus, man, yeah, this was your week. Your brain is there. I remember your one show you did last year. I knew it right away. Your brain is there. So you might
Mhm.
be a choir kid, but you are now also an improv kid, sir. So keep at that. Even post Kiana, like you're now going to be showing younger people next year what to
Right.
do. And with Isabella by your side, rock and roll, right?
Yeah, that team's full of a lot of acid. If you're talking about chemistry folks, like the pH scale, and Isabella does provide the base. Like there is a nice way of counteracting everything. She's like a tum for that team, and she just cools down all of the acid reflux that regurgitates into hilarious, energetic improv. That's that's not the first analogy of improv you're going to hear today, but that's what I feel when I watch Isabella do her thing. So I think that team's got some really cool chemistry, literally and metaphorically. And that will be really cool to see what happens after Kiana's left, because I think she's instilled a little bit of herself in each of her teammates. And it's going to be super cool to see what they look like, needing to move forward. So I bet this show was fun to watch because we did get that different flair and texture.
Right.
And what about Pahrump, man? They've been coming up strong. Juliet and Jackson, right? The Wonder
I
Twins.
Gosh, I found myself straight up belly laughing at a lot of what Pahrump did this week.
Nice.
Um, there was there first off, they're 9 out of 10, which was I think my favorite
Mm.
game this week. They had a really fun, interesting perspective on Hamilton. But at some
Oh,
point in 9 out of 10, Ryan starts talking about how everything's better in pairs. And Ryan kind of goes off on this tangent of, yeah, two is always better. And, you have two socks. And what would you do with one sock and two? So it just starts talking about how twos. And Jackson challenges and says, you know what's not better with two? Stage 2 cancer. And
oh my God. No. Oh no.
But hold on. It's set up the best comeback because Ryan said, "Yeah, but it's better than stage 4 cancer, so two's better." And
Oh,
I really lost it. Like I really lost it
I
in
don't know
that
if I should
moment.
clap for that. I just got to say, nice, brave take there, and well done on making it, making a joke out of it on top of the joke. I mean, that's a moment to
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. No, I know sometimes that might be a little risque, but we can find tasteful ways to
Right.
throw that out there. Um,
Such a good thing for you to say, man. Taste is a fascinating concept for jesters, and I almost wonder if I want to have multiple questions for you today instead of just one Kopy question. But don't let me forget the word taste. But keep going.
well, this week there are definitely a handful of moments of what is tasteful and what might not be. Um,
Uh
but
oh.
continuing a little bit on Rob,
Sure.
uh, Cynthia this week was probably the most comfortable I think I've seen her.
Good.
And Cynthia also kind of carries that natural, sweet way about how she talks and how she
Right.
does scenes, right?
Right.
So there were a couple of moments where she had to play a bigger character, or a bit like I think she was like the horror story, like in Quick Change, she was the horror killer or whatever.
Yeah.
But still like the cute, sweet Cynthia way, like, hey, don't like getting real close to the camera with. So that was nice to see. And then Ryan, my only advice, man, is we got to get you on your feet. So you have a lot of value, and I think I don't think you realize that sitting down is taking away some of that energy,
Mm-hmm.
and your team needs your energy. So
Mm-hmm.
just my best advice for you. You got the other three going. As natural and goofy as it looks, like Jackson always talks about how weird he feels standing there.
Right.
It helps a ton. So
Yep.
Ryan, get on your feet, sir.
Yep, strike a pose. My favorite thing to suggest when you're doing improv, strike a pose to start it off. You have no idea what your brain will jump to when you find yourself in a strange physical start to a scene. And as long as it's not sitting, it will probably give you a lot more to do. Otherwise, you're just like, hey, I'm just lounging. And, we don't improv and lounge all that much at the same time. So, yeah, get on your feet. And we all really, it's playoff time. Like, let's not sit for any games. Lose your chairs, burn them if you need to, donate them to public schools because they could use a seat. And I think that sounds like a well wrapped conversation on that duo. Shall we move on to our next?
Sure.
Cool. I have plucked a partnership that I think should be a lot of fun. How about Basic and Cheyenne? Two teams that no one should, in any way, shape, or form, sleep on if you find them across from you on playoff day. Love watching these teams for basic scene work and Cheyenne's sheer energy. How do they match up this week?
So if you're looking at the bracket, also looking at what week 8 looks like, you're looking
Yeah.
at two teams that had a bye in the first round of the playoffs.
Woohoo! That's
So
something to really pay attention to.
so both of them get to rest easy, at least in the first round.
Yeah.
And they got to face each other in week 8. So this was almost like a pre-playoff matchup, if you want to think of it that way.
Are they on the
Um,
same side of the bracket? I don't have that picture in front of me right at the second, so I can't help but
they
ask.
are. I mean,
Okay.
if the world goes a certain way, I mean, there's a possibility one day they could face each other again. So who knows?
Ooh, boy, that's
But
exciting stuff.
yeah, that just depends on how everything goes.
Right.
Um, Going into the show, I had a good, decent baby little chat with Jacob Day from Basic today, talking about. I mean, because I've been saying all year long, they're the team that kind of wants it the most, and I agree, and I still agree with that. And um, I mean, just textbook work. I would argue that their scores are probably the most consistent.
Okay.
They're kind of getting the same scores each week, and they're just that you can count on them to do this, and that.
Yeah.
They're the only other team to take a crack at Inception. They gave it a shot this week.
Oh man, that yeah, good. How did that flow?
Pretty decent.
Nice.
They had what my note on the top of their score sheet right now is textbook work. That's my
Cool.
note. It's just
Nice.
they know the rules in and out. They also played melodrama. Now they definitely played it to like Kopy's rule set.
Uh-huh.
And the hardest part about Kopy's rule set is the 10 seconds, right? Is
Oh, sure.
waiting those 10 seconds. they probably waited 20 seconds. Like that's how disciplined they are. Now I'm not saying that the 20 seconds was necessary, basic, but they just, that's so hard to wait 10 and they waited 20 every time. So wow, that's definitely a compliment in themselves. But Inception, melodrama, quick change, parallel universe, like that's a tough lineup to play. Like that was what basic did. So
It sounds like a good
um,
lineup.
yeah, absolutely. Now I hope that basic looks at this particular week and looks at quick change and looks at kind of the fun you had, because that's what stood out to me, was just kind of that general fun you were having.
Yeah.
Moving the cameras, like Maya, love that you're moving the camera. Lily, love that
Yeah.
you're moving
Yeah.
the camera. All four of you now are in that mode of using your cameras the best way you can. So keep at that. So yeah, I hope you walk away knowing that quick change is what stands out to me the most, at least on this particular week, simply from that fun angle. And I said to Jacob today, I said, sometimes when you've got 4-year players like you and Lily,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. The difference is that you have the capacity and the mentality to understand what you're doing. So you could probably learn new tricks. So now let's maybe flirt with the danger side of it. Let's take a
Yeah.
risk.
Exactly.
Let's put ourselves out there a little bit.
Right.
Sometimes that risk is what is going to pay off, and we'll see. We'll see how they take it, what they do with it.
Yeah, I've watched enough basic play this year to see how much they've gotten good at the consistency aspect of improv, the ability to take and play with almost anything in almost any setting. So now I agree, it will be fun with that challenge to see if basic can shake themselves up and step outside their own box. And, with the brains on that team, I don't see how it can't be too hard for them to take some random strikes. Just keep yes-anding, kids. It doesn't matter how crazy your ideas are, as long as you're yes-anding and building upon the ridiculousness, you'll be able to tie it all together. You've got the brains. So I can't wait to see what they do. An exciting team to have a first round bye. Do not sleep on basic. And what
Well, so yeah, if you want to talk taking risks, I mean, that's why Cheyenne's here. Um,
exactly, right? So this
yeah.
is such a fun this is a fun matchup. Yeah.
So first thing, like out of the gate, first game, I mean, they are walking into their scene smiling. So
Yes.
that's cool. It's just all the way
Yes.
around. Now, Sam's smile is evil because he always has something weird cooked up in his brain. Um,
Yes.
right. But the
Right.
girls are all walking into the scene smiling, sometimes laughing before it starts.
Good.
Miley's doing a great job of switching who's starting and who's entering and that kind of thing.
Sure.
All those scenes. Another a line that stuck out to me. Start of 9 out of 10. Like toothbrushes was the suggestion.
Of course.
The first line Susan starts off with and says, "Toothbrushes," and I'm going to say it. I'm going to try and say it exactly the way Susan said it. Okay.
I'm closing my eyes to envision.
Okay. Toothbrushes are the fabric of puberty.
Okay, put that on the top of the newspaper headlines, and I can't wait to read that article. Cool. Was there a challenge immediately, or did they give 5 seconds to let
No,
her
they
dig
gave
her
her a
way out?
second because she goes,
Okay,
"Let me
good.
explain." Yeah, that's kind of who their team is.
It's
Like,
how 9 out of 10 should be, man. Make big, bold, exaggerated comments and then tear each other apart. Set each other up that way. It's so much
oh,
fun.
well, I feel like they're playing 9 out of 10 in every game they play. Like
Interesting.
that's just that's kind of their style. So even the simplest
Okay.
of ideas, they had one scene where the suggestion was like a hot dog cart. So just a very simple setup, but they found their fun in it.
Mm.
Oh, their head to head in this show was melodrama.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're head to
Yeah.
head. Cheyenne's melodrama, the suggestion was coffee shop.
Yep.
Susan comes in last to give the one-liner. So Susan wasn't a part of the actual melodramas. And Susan's final line was, "Is this where Tupac died?"
Oh, yes. Oh man.
I mean,
That's as far from
you,
left field as you could possibly get.
you don't need to see the scenes to just appreciate those two lines I gave you.
I agree.
Um, yeah.
Susan was a hot spot, eh?
Yep. Susan for sure was my pick on this week if I'm picking one. Yeah, just good stuff all the way around. Absolutely. Even the coin toss, like you two in that coin toss, ridiculous, just ridiculous.
Cool stuff from Coach Miley, insisting that students try to keep that on-stage mentality, that smile and be part of it, be engaging to look at even when you're in digital form, folks, because if you're on stage, you got to keep that on-stage mentality. You're always being seen. So kudos to Coach Miley. That seems like a note that I every time I look back on Miley's performances, I know she started her scenes with a smile. And that's kind of cool to see her translate over to her coaching. So that's kind of fun. Two very different teams, but definitely could be amazing if they see each other in playoffs. So, woo. Are we ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay, I plucked from my hat my team, Burkhart Del Sol. This was an interesting show to watch back. I'm curious what you have to say.
Yeah. Let's start on the Burkhart side of the world.
Okay,
We got kind of a cool moment out of the gate for them in their first game. They started off with a game of Survivor,
right.
and Coach Dylan, who we had a cameo from, came in as a part in that Survivor, and started a chant, um,
Yes.
to where they all started doing this chant, and immediately I was like, oh, that's brilliant, because now they got to redo it, and someone's going to have to do all four spots doing that
Ah.
chant later.
Ah.
Just a real subtle thing about
Yeah.
replay scenes that are really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if anyone's taking notes on what I'm saying, like that's such a good thing to do. I'm not saying go chant in all your scenes, but something that makes the replay fun is the goal.
Find a way for the four players to focus on one thing that everybody has a role for, so that when you start pulling people away, the fewer players have more to scramble to do. I agree. That is a cool thought. What'd you think?
um and I loved the elimination, like who was eliminated when. I loved
Right.
seeing Molly at the end.
Me too.
Like those are all choices I definitely would have made in that exact order.
Yep.
So yeah, Survivor for me, probably the one I like the most, if I'm not talking about Marley playing bartender.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm watching Marley and I'm like, man, you should have been doing this all 4 years. Like
Interesting.
this is a game we should have taught you as a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like so much potential. Just uh
I've seen so much bartender in the last 2 weeks that I'm like super kicking myself. We haven't played hardly a single music game over at Del Sol this year, and it's because of the timing of it all. And now I'm like really regretting it. It seems like the kids who are ready to step in and musically take things away have a way of creating these really fun dynamics to their scenes. And Marley's always been capable of that. So it was fun to see her step into that role with the backtrack and everything, and really give it their all. Definitely a fun game to watch.
yeah, well, and then bartender until this year has only been played probably three
Right.
times in all 11 years of Jester's history
it's
before this.
it's crazy to see how it's flared up. Do you have any idea where that came from?
Well, I mean, LVA played it twice over the past couple of years, but they played the hairdresser version.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
then
Yeah.
I remember Brad and Danny back in the day.
Sure.
So like
Amazing.
2012, giving it a shot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's it.
It's
So that's
amazing. Nice to see an old game get reborn. And
yep.
we've seen that a little bit with melodrama a lot this season too. It's really cool, man. The variety of games this year is just staggering. But yep, keep rolling. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. We got a newbie in this one for Burkhart. So we saw Marissa in Marissa's first show. Uh,
Oh,
so I love being in week 8 and being able to say these kind of things.
right.
Marissa, welcome.
Sure.
I'm happy you're here. Um,
Smooth.
I enjoyed
Very smooth performer.
I enjoyed quick change for them, especially for Marissa. I felt like that was where Marissa was the most comfortable.
Okay.
So if that's anything for you, Marissa, to take away from this, when you're on your feet, when you're engaged in a scene, that's where you're comfortable. That's a great place to be. So that's normally hard for a lot of people, but that seemed to be what was easiest for you. So
Awesome.
if I'm flipping over here to Del Sol, uh,
Do
I,
it.
okay.
What have you
Um,
got?
So this was kind of a show of two sides for them.
Mm-hmm.
This was kind of like who Christian and Mia are as performers and who
Mm-hmm.
Ali and Adina are as performers.
Interesting.
There seemed to be a parallel that kind of ran the entire show. So anytime something went one way or the other, it almost seemed like they were a team within a team as far as what they contributed to how the show went. So let me start out of the gate. The first,
We played first
sorry,
game. Okay.
I got it. From Blind Line and even into dating app for me, I mean, honestly, Mia right now is at a different level. Like, wow, just that comfort, that poise, that is something I see shaky. That we've seen a lot of shakiness out of Mia sometimes.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes the game just gets the best of Mia, but not now, not this Mia, whoever this Mia is. Nope. So I loved that poise. Christian had all of the like. This was so Christian. The show. This was everything and like. This is such a good sample. If Christian wanted to send in like an audition tape to say, "Hey, this is who I am," this is a great show for Christian to send in. Just to
Yes.
say, this is exactly who I am as a person, as a performer. Like
Hmm.
all of my his goblin boss that he started, whatever scene that was.
Yes, the librarian. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, yeah, you take my resume, Goblin. That's how the scene started.
That's true. Again, making a snap decision on a different pose. We've mentioned that before. Glad to see Christian do that because it's helping him spread out his characters. Keep going.
Yep. Adina, just knowing when, and this was such a patient performance by Adina, where
Right.
sometimes we can see Adina go and be the aggressor and put herself into those spots because Adina's really learned scene work that way.
Oh,
But this was such a patient performance.
yeah.
So it was
Agreed.
really cool. Everything Adina added was in the right moments, in the right
Yep.
times, yet where it
Yep.
needed to be. And Ali was almost the same way. Like
Yep.
Ali's contribution was almost in that same vein where this was the right spot, the right temperament, the right humor. It like the four of them had such a good ebb and flow dynamic. Like good
Cool.
good combination.
Cool. Glad
Um,
you feel that way.
yeah, the little voice. Probably the only note I haven't said here was little voice was had a decent story arc
It sure
where
did.
they started versus where they finished, and that's
Sure
what you
did.
want. You want story arc. So
Yep.
I'm really happy how that kind of flipped into a whole new animal.
Yep.
Well, and literally, if we're talking about animals,
The
so
frog, to the
yeah.
left, the toad. I mean, Mia wanted that frog in there. I'm just saying that. It
Well,
was.
sure.
Oh, and I'm just teasing. Yeah, of course. Cool, man. Glad to hear that kind of stuff. Yes. Do you have more to contribute, or do I get to say anything, or shall I just pluck something from my hat?
I mean, the only other note I had here that I didn't say was I thought dating app was sharp top to bottom.
Cool.
I mean, the characters, the Mia's contribute like just top to bottom. Everyone had a moment. So,
Yes.
only other note I had there.
Cool. It's been fun, again, into the playoffs here. It's been fun watching Mia kind of become the initiator of everything we do. And Christian's really fallen into this amazing, like he almost ties our shoelaces for us. I don't know if you noticed how many times he decided, like, okay, this game's coming to an end, so I'm gonna wrap it all up and put a double knot in there. That's what they've both really come to excel at as a duo. Christian kind of tidies up what Mia initiates, and Adina, I agree. I mean, one of the biggest notes I gave to Adina and Ollie this week was how patient they were and how pleased I was to see that patience because, yes, the seniors are going in hungry to show who they are in these playoffs. And these last couple games, they've really been running our scenes and really, directing everything. And so I was really grateful, especially to a kid like Adina, who I've had for 3 years, who was our all-star last year, who's always willing to be selfless for the team and for the seniors. And Ollie's been like that this year too. We really wanted to try to give Ollie a little bit of a highlight, which is why they got to be little voice this week. So cool, man. I mean, we're hoping for a strong playoff. So any I know Mia and Christian would want it straight from you. Do you have anything you want to say to help them kick them up a notch, or are you excited for what they're gonna do?
Your description of what they're doing was probably better than mine. I
Okay,
like your shoelace analogy.
thanks.
Um, I mean, I feel like they, at this point, kind of like what I said about Jacob and Lily with Basic, is sometimes you just don't want to reinvent the wheel. And right now it's working, like your wheel's spinning. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Mia, don't change a thing. Like whatever track you're on, don't change it. Christian, you know where you're valuable and when to do what. So just keep on that path.
Yeah, and you throw in Robin there, and whomever we take into our fourth spot, I'm excited. As unbiased as I can be, all I can say is I'm excited for Del Sol Improv in the playoffs. Let's hope that we take that first round bye we have and really use it to get primed. And Pueblos del Fuegos, we will be primed. Let's move on. Give some love to the rest of the league. How about Centennial and Northwest CTA?
Yep, here we go. So let's start with Northwest. So this was Northwest's best score of the year.
Oh, yay. Good. That's saying
Love
something,
seeing
though.
that at the end of the year.
Cool.
So here's what was kind of cool. For me, it's growth is I actually saw Nat thinking.
Ooh.
Which is kind of neat. That Nat's right at the experience level to where Nat should be thinking. So Nat was thinking, and Nat was thinking out loud.
Oh, that's an
So,
interesting thing to do.
anytime, like especially the first couple of scenes, Nat would start to respond and give maybe a yes and then go wait nope and then give an actual yes. So I literally saw Nat going through those steps. So Nat,
Interesting.
bravo sir. uh do that, just keep doing that, you'll find it, like you will
Yeah.
always find it.
Yeah.
So happy word with Nat is, Nat, you don't have to get the egg picture into every scene though, I'll throw that out there.
Ooh.
Liliana's new this year, and Liliana's at a point now where Liliana's calling spots and calling shots.
Whoa.
Like, yeah, there is a comfort there, and
Okay.
I hope, Liliana, you're enjoying this as much as we're enjoying watching you, because there's definitely a place for what you're doing. So you're in a great team to be a part of with someone who's as talented as you are. So you kind of like what I was saying to some of Warren's players for Del Sol, don't change what you're doing because that value's there. Like really good stuff that you're showing us.
Nice.
Heck, you could show more, like give us more. So we won't say no to it all.
Nope.
Brandon's still having fun, like it's Brandon's first day of practice.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so just laughing at himself and his ideas, and just, I mean, that's the best place to be in improv, is when you're just having that pure joy and fun. So too many of us get in our heads, and then sometimes fun gets sacrificed because of it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Kopy. I never get stuck in my head, not once.
And Isaiah, if you want a masterful performance, sir, watch your radio back, because that was such a good idea, arc, change, like your comeback on your second round, just really good, sir. Like that was exactly what I was waiting to see out of you this year. And there you were, right there, giving it to me. So yeah, Northwest, really solid week, best score of the season, way to pull it out right here before playoffs.
Sweet. I mean, that's a team that you can never rest on. I mean, not any way, shape, or form. Just a solidly coached team, very well advised. They have been through a lot as a group, and Erica Fish and Isaiah are one of the scariest duos I could think of going into playoffs in any given year. So watch Northwest and watch out for Northwest.
Yeah, no, we know it. Yeah, I know their first round opponents already thinking about it. But we'll get there at the end here when we're done.
I'm already chomping on my eraser. What about Team Adorable?
Team Adorable, man. This was a personal victory for me this week. Mackenzie came back this week.
Oh, no way. That does sound like a personal victory. Okay.
Yeah. So Mackenzie was supposed to be a 4-year player going into this year. Mackenzie did our Just a Preview at the beginning of the year, and then Mackenzie kind of fell out, and we lost Mackenzie all year. Mackenzie came in the past couple of weeks and said, "Hey, sorry, but I'm here." And they got Mackenzie into week 8. And boy, did that not change everything.
Cool.
yeah, there's a weird special place in my heart for 4-year players. So
Warriors, yeah.
I mean, seeing her name on the roster, getting her in the coin toss, watching her play scenes, um, every single student in this league, this will always be a home for you. This door is always open for you, no matter how
Yep.
long you're here.
Yep.
But you 4-year players, you basically have a room to rent. So,
Yeah.
Mackenzie, I'm so happy to see you. If they made you Bob, and I hate it when Bob, like,
You deserve it.
yeah, yeah.
You
So,
deserve it. Okay, you can
yeah,
keep going. Sorry.
thank you from my heart. This was really cool to see.
Can't have Team Adorable without Mackenzie, especially when they're there to have one more year. So cool. Let's.
Well, but now to talk the improv technique side of it. I mean, Mackenzie was on the first team All Jesters main stage cast last year,
Exactly.
which is
So,
basically like saying Mackenzie was on the MVP bubble.
right.
So talk about picking up someone off the street and them joining the team.
That's right.
So yeah, when I saw I hate it when Bob and Mackenzie was out of the room and Bob hadn't come in yet, I went, oh boy.
Haha.
So just some really cool
Lego.
stuff. But Kaylee standing right next to Mackenzie, just as strong. I've been talking about that all year.
Yep.
Really cool. I think at one point I even said Kaylee's filled Mackenzie's shoes. I think those
You
were
did.
words that came out of my mouth.
Yep.
And then next to them with Brian and Joe, Joe has this weird, and I think this is a huge part of Team Adorable, is Joe's positivity.
Okay.
Joe just has this glowing, like, hey, do you all want to have a sandwich with me?
Want to build a snowman?
Yeah, I packed bologna. Like he has this weird positivity in all of his jokes, his ideas, his scenes, his commitment. And then Brian's maturity is what I'm loving. So Brian is truly a 3rd-year player who is settling into what Brian does. And I know Brian's mentally beating himself up a little bit. Don't, man. Like, you deserve to be in this foursome this week. Like, it
Heck
worked
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
This was a great matchup. This was the closest score of the week as well. So just this was a neat show for me all the way around.
Very cool. Yeah, I can understand why that would mean a lot to you. And two teams that are developing strong duos and going into the playoffs still, again, it's still anybody's league. So
Yeah, that if that didn't just change the game, right?
right. So watch Centennial. Could surprise people coming from the bottom, but they are here. Team Adorable. Do not count out the power of adorableness. Okay? Do not. And speaking of adorableness, this is usually a team that we can qualify as adorable enough. How about Secta as they go head to head with Desert Oasis?
Got it. So this was kind of a coach versus themselves scenario.
Ooh.
Coach
Yeah, Corey.
Corey is the coach of Desert Oasis. Coach Corey also coaches with Coach Ingalls at Secta.
Oh, very
Um,
cool.
So you see Corey pop up all over this show in all sides. Let me start with Secta though. So Lexi, to me, like, just watching Lexi go scene to scene, and now all season long, it feels like Lexi's like a talking surgeon. Just
Ooh.
like, throw those darts at Lexi, and Lexi's gonna talk those darts the way she wants them to go.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. Like, Lexi clearly has found you found your path, like you found where you're sitting. So now I think we need to what do you call it? We need to sonic burst you down the lane, in that lane that you're in, and just let you become a terror and just do what you do and accelerate it.
Okay.
And
So it
so
sounds like Lexi can justify a scene, any sort of strange curveball Secta chooses, and move it into a different direction. So why not have Lexi Secta steer from the beginning, and then you're all on like mind as long as you can yes and right? Is
well,
that
I think that's what she's doing.
cool?
So now
Very cool.
it's adding more ingredients to the chili. Like,
Right.
that's kind
It's
of where
just
we're at.
you're just drawing the blueprint of good architecture in improv, folks.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's huge. And Secta has needed that. Am I right?
Yep. Well, and I think he knows he's got a handful there that can be competitive for playoffs. So
Sick.
trying to get that figured out. And watching Jordan and Cody this week, we had another brother
Mm-hmm.
twosome on the same camera thing. I don't know if their family was literally sitting in front of them watching, but there was a lot of laughter coming from that camera.
Oh, good. Must have been.
So for me, it was just kind of a feel good moment of, you know what, because this is the third sibling now from them. At one point, I saw baby Sagers running around. Like this is something they're gonna remember. They're always gonna remember for the rest of their lives. Like
Cool.
they're gonna when they stand up and give a toast at each other's weddings, like this might be something they talk about.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
like yeah, like they just enjoy doing this together, and there's definitely like brotherly love between these two. It's not like weird little brothers annoying. Like there's none
Right.
of
No,
that.
of course not. Especially
Zero.
if you're going to play in the same pool. I got to ask, Cody, earlier on the season, you mentioned Cody and how he had some things he could draw from Jordan as far as energy and that liveliness. How is he feeling? Is he kind of settling in and really drawing from that now?
Yeah, I don't think he has an issue with energy at all. I think he does have his own style. I think Jordan
Cool.
and their older sister Alyssa were very similar, and even their paths have been similar. But Cody is just very different, and that makes it very interesting for me.
Nice.
So yeah, this was neat. Some realizations, so to speak, for Secta in this show.
Okay.
And then we flip over here to Desert Oasis. I'm going to argue that this was Abby's best week. I kind of made a claim last week about Abby.
Right.
I talked about. I think Abby's kind of a secret, like a secret key ingredient to what Desert Oasis can do.
Uh-huh.
So I was happy to see Abby on her feet, to see Abby making facial expressions, to
Right.
see Abby
Okay.
using body language and throwing things, and I just. It
Putting it
was
all
nice.
together.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just the more that you do that, Abby, the better it makes your team.
Yep.
So I'm happy that I made that comment. I have no idea if you saw it or heard it, but maybe the universe just passed it on to you, and then boom, we got it. So keep doing that. Keep doing that. So flip over to Melissa. I think Melissa's been kind of effortless. Melissa's so comfortable being Melissa, like nuances and characters. And Melissa's the only person in the league that does this. And I don't know if I've said this in Just to Recap yet, but Corey will be setting up the game. The next game we're going to play is Countdown. The suggestion is blah, blah, blah. Players, are you ready? While that's going on, Melissa is totally like talking to the camera and posing and
Oh,
doing
fun.
weird stuff. And then Corey will call scene, and then Melissa will immediately go back into it. Doesn't matter what she's doing, back into the camera, posing and doing things. And
Oh, okay. I get that.
like
Yeah.
just trying to get, like, Melissa knows that there might be 2 seconds of carryover and maybe we'll catch it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just who Melissa is, like, personality wise.
That's somebody who grasps the importance of stage presence at all times, regardless of the style of stage. So kudos to Melissa.
Yeah. I mean, just Melissa's suggestion in What Else You Got was turning a key. Melissa can't just turn a key. Like it's just Melissa can't just, like, Melissa's got her own style.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything's got to be done the Melissa way. That's invaluable. I mean, as
Yeah.
long as your team around you can just be ready for anything Melissa does, that's just a pageant of different options and things to build on. Very cool. Very,
My
very silly and quirky.
My favorite moment probably in this one is worth shouting out is Sam's character and dating game.
Okay.
Not too often do we see the person asking the questions kind of take that position you took. So Sam, we know that you're a beast and you're capable of a lot of good stuff. And this was so anti-beast like that it was noticeable and it was great. Like
Oh, fun.
really, really good.
Cool.
So yeah, that definitely needed its own moment to talk about.
Okay.
So, cool stuff.
All right. Sounds like another fun one. We're running out of matchups. Let's see how hot the rest of them can remain. How about Valley versus the Wild Card team, one of our Monday shows.
Yeah.
He's
There's
already
lots of
laughing.
fun.
This is a good sign.
You know what? Let me start by picking on song only a little, but this was officially the longest show of the season.
Oh
It
boy.
was almost an hour and 40 minutes.
Wow. Hey, Del Sol, we did it, guys. We're not the longest. High fives. Yes.
Yeah, well, but let me at least explain. So this was the wild card team.
Okay.
This week's wild card was West Tech. We gave it to West Tech because
Yeah.
West Tech's been consistently another one of the biggest teams this year.
Good.
So it really kind of did almost what you did, Warren, when Del Sol was the wild card team, and just kind of come one, come all.
Yay.
And just trying ideas and everyone. So I get it. One of her games was 24 minutes and the rest were all probably 23. So it just, but she was just having fun with these
I knew
ideas.
Son was my kind of coach.
Yeah. So just basically they were all group games. They played Newlywed Game, which with 5 couples, I love Newlywed Game. They had 4 couples that were players that were performers of the team. And then they had Mark and Angelica from the old Chaparral crew from 2016.
Oh, that's super cool. Oh, 10 out of 10. Welcome back.
Mark and Angelica graduated from Chaparral in 2017. Or Angelica 2016, Mark 2017.
Oh, man.
They were dating in high school. They're still dating. So Song
That's
had
amazing.
them come in as the real couple in Newlywed Game.
That's super cool.
Yeah, which was kind of cool. So Newlywed Game. So
especially when you think about the fact that they were never classmates. They connected through this league, and that's what's even better.
Well, you know what? Maybe.
Right.
I don't know if I've ever asked them that, but they were 1 year apart. You know what? I don't know if it was improv. It may have been theater, but I think improv definitely helped. Mark was too scared to do improv.
Oh man!
In Angelica's year.
Okay.
And then the rest is history because
sure.
Mark went on to play in the championship the next year.
Yeah.
Right. So
of course.
Sorry, I'm throwing out history.
Yeah. Hey, the kids love old school statistics these days. Let's run down the playoff bracket from 10 years ago.
So back to today.
Okay.
Let me give a little bit of shine to one of the West Tech performers, in Hannah. I've talked a little bit about Hannah this year, but Hannah's a first-year senior that clearly, God, I wish we could have Hannah from the beginning.
The saddest of stories to us Jesters coaches.
Yeah, Hannah, you're the student that breaks all of our hearts. So this was another good classic Hannah example of why Hannah is that person.
Yeah.
And I'm going to translate this over into talking about both teams because there's a very fun idea. I mentioned this in a different show that I was fully in support of and even helped try to orchestrate, but they played a head-to-head game of marriage counselor.
Okay.
Which is a first this year.
Yeah.
And in this game of marriage counselor, they set up that the counseling sessions were going to be done in a warehouse. Both games. So the game that West Tech played and the game that Valley played, the setting was going to be the same with just 2 different counseling sessions.
Okay.
Are you following me?
I can barely follow myself, so you just keep talking.
Okay, so same setting, same warehouse, just 2 different sessions. So they recorded mutually exclusive games. But in this warehouse was full of bats.
Oh, consistently.
Yes. So bats became a subplot of both games that they allowed to carry over into the other team recordings.
Oh, fun.
To where there were some West Tech students in the Valley recording, and then Maddie, of course, in the West Tech recording. Now they might not think that it went very well. I kind of disagree. I really liked it. And I think there's
difference, like you said, the different approaches.
There's totally a way to make that work, and I think that actually allowed my brain to think of a game. So I now have a new game idea concept that I want to try, and we'll see.
Give it to Del Sol for week 2 of playoffs. Thanks.
Okay, I kind of really want to play this idea simply because of that idea. So cool. That was initially a brainchild of Maddie. Maddie presented it, and I said, "Hey, let's try and run with it." So
that's a special kid. Must be something in the water.
Maybe. Las Vegas water's gross though.
It sure is. It makes you go bald, doesn't it, Kopy?
Yep. Now flip over to Valley, just to show you kind of the page that Valley's on right now.
Okay.
Valley played a game of I Hate It When Bob,
Of
where
course.
Maddie and Aiden started the scene, and Maddie was a dishwasher.
Oh, fun.
Not
Ah,
not a human washing a dish. She was the
right.
actual dishwashing machine.
Yeah, man. Sure. Some
Like
students
that.
love being
That's how
inanimate
it's.
objects.
Yeah, that's how it started.
Cool. And
So
that speaks to what you said last week about Maddie's ability to do something different every time.
right, just that pure creator brain,
Yep.
and what that does for that team. So in this particular show, I got to see a lot. In Marriage Counselor, Kyla was literally getting her hair done in the middle of the game, where I don't know who it
Okay.
was in Kyla's family, but they were literally doing Kyla's hair,
Oh.
like legitimately. So
Wow.
and it was the perfect, like, it was the absolute right game to be getting your hair done in. I Hate It When Bob, Quick Change, dating app, it would have been weirder, but Marriage Counselor, perfect. When I saw that, I had to log into the recording for a second. When I saw that in my brain, I went, please do Marriage Counselor first.
So fun.
And yeah, they did that.
Cool.
So Quick Change, dating app is just something so easy for them because of their weird quick character choices and ideas.
Sure.
um, Isabella, let me give you a compliment. What I noticed in this particular week is that in scene work, that's where you are most comfortable, and that is a hard place to be. So I know
Yeah.
I've been giving you some advice over the past few weeks. So maybe this is a full Valley team advice, but scene work seems to be a place where Isabella definitely has her footing. So just something I noticed. So sometimes Isabella's sweetness can sometimes get thrown to the side when you've got dishwashers and Aiden running down the street and Kyla yelling and acting crazy. So I get it. So maybe a secret of advice for Valley.
Yeah, Valley. And you know, it's fun. It's fun because I feel like I often try to be the scene guy when I'm doing improv too. And it's really important with Isabella being one of your most experienced students and really feeling comfortable in that role that you take some understanding into that and rally around them as we get into this playoff, because if you follow their scene, you know, the way that they're trying to target everything, you're going to find that you'll have a great structure. And my one note for Isabella to go on top of that is don't lose any of the quirky ideas that you might have to stand out just a little bit more. So while you're telling cohesive stories, you're keeping it strange. It'll help your kids have more to bounce off of around you as a teammate. So really, that Valley team is just one mental smart step away from upsetting some serious teams in the league. So really rally around your team building or your scene building, excuse me, but don't lose any of that character, that flair and that fire, because you guys definitely have it. It's fun to watch.
Yep.
Um, and that should suffice for both sides. Yeah, you
Yep,
like
we
it?
got it.
Okay, cool. All right. I got another flap of paper in here for our other Monday night matchup. It's Team Love, the Clark Chargers, versus the defending champions, Cimarron High. And boy, I'm not so sure Clark is as overmatched as maybe years past would suggest. So what do we got here? This had to be a fun one.
Well, what we have is the show of the week.
Yeah, buddy, go Clark! Oh, come at us. We're ready.
Yeah,
We are ready.
it's so easy to forget that Cimarron is our defending champs.
It's not hard for me to
Right?
forget.
Because
I'm obsessed.
here we are going into week 8, and now going into the playoffs. It's great that Cimarron's defending champs, but now everyone's got a shot. So
I agree.
it's one versus the lot, right?
One
Um,
versus 100, if that's not copyrighted by Game Show Network.
maybe.
Uh,
Here, let's start with Clark. Part of the reason why this was show of the week is this was Clark's best score of the year.
cool. They've
Um,
been gaining steam for real, for real.
Yep. So Marlene, I haven't double checked this, but Marlene, I think, has been in every show.
Okay,
Um, and it's showing. Like
right.
it's paying off. Like if you put in your time, if you've ever heard anyone give you the old expression of if you put in enough hours, you're gonna get something out of it, or what is it, 10,000 hours to make you a professional or something. If you put in your hours, it will come back and serve you well. And Marlene, it is serving very well.
Yo,
Um,
good to hear.
yeah, super happy about that. I saw the itch last year for Marlene, so I'm glad that she is doing exactly what she should be doing. Don't change
Mm-hmm.
a thing. Um, on the other side of it, seeing Jenna again back-to-back weeks. I think this is the first time this year I got to see her back-to-back weeks,
Okay.
which immediately reinforced everything I talked about with Jenna last week, and
Right.
just the ease and the simplicity and how good that is. Like how you are such a good cherry on top for this. Sometimes the cherry is the most important part.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes people melt down without that cherry. So um, I mean, yes, 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 yes. I don't know if these words are getting back to you, but know that I'm completely waving the Jenna flag. Nahom and Mallow, man,
Yeah.
it this is a league for the two of you. Like you
Cool.
are, yeah. This is, I mean, we exist for the two of you, and your ability to just go and be brave and say and do and be silly and goofy. Um, Nahom's silly. I don't remember exactly what it was, but there's a point where Nahom was like corner of the camera, like, "Yeah, you get out of here, you silly adoptee daddy." And I don't know what about that just made me crack up.
You
Um,
silly adoptee daddy. That's
yeah,
funny.
just simple, silly, but that's just who they are. Like that's what they're capable of. So,
Yep.
um, yeah, Clark, keep rocking, keep doing what you're doing. Let me flip it over to our defending champs. This was also their best score of the year.
Ooh,
Um,
boy, it's a
yep,
hot week for improv.
Yep. Well, I mean, now it goes to why it was show of the week. And let me just start off simply by saying, Bentley, sir, I don't think you realize how good you are. I kind of tried to present that to you early on in the year when I saw what you were doing, and here we are. Like you are powerful. Like you are kind of a powerhouse, but I don't think you have any idea.
Mm.
You really don't. So I'm super excited to see what playoffs does with you for you. I even talked to your coach today about it, Coach Justin,
Mm-hmm.
and he couldn't agree more. What the value that you add to these defending champs. Now, Bentley, this should have been his third year, but Bentley did one show 2 years ago and didn't do any last year.
Right.
Um, so
Avoid left,
yeah, avoid
and now
left, and I would
resurging.
I would argue that Bentley's almost a completely different person right now, and
Oh,
I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Anyone that I've seen watch Bentley has gone, man, that kid's good, and he is like he's solid.
awesome.
Um, Althea, you're still doing like there's nothing to say about Althea. Like, gosh, what I loved this week the most was Fernando. Fernando's hosting of acronyms was a lot of fun. Fernando's
Okay.
choices in quick change were a lot of fun. Fernando is a sports guy that found a fun thing to do in improv and really is going for it. Fernando's always got something to put in a scene. He's always got something to justify. He's always got a silly idea of, hey, yeah, I am the sports guy, but I'm also funny too. Like, you got it? Like, Fernando's like the cool guy. If we were in
Sure.
person, Fernando would probably have the most friends because Fernando's just cool. Uh,
Uh-oh.
yeah, like that's kind of his swagger when he does
Cool.
stuff. So for me, this was Fernando's week. Really enjoyed what you did. I'm happy in week 8 I get to say that, sir. So welcome to the league, sir. Because we notice you.
He sounds like a bit of either a spiritual Donovan successor a little bit there.
Maybe, yeah. Donovan was cool, huh? Yeah,
Donovan
okay.
had the swagger. There's no doubt
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, for
Hey,
sure.
Cimarron, it's exciting to know that they are ready to defend their title, and there's a lot of really cool pieces there. And you want to talk about secondary thinking, kids? If you don't know how to take an A and spit out a C, watch Cimarron Improv because they get it. Always have a super cool program over there. Watch out in the playoffs. This sounded like a great startup, but we'll see what happens as the playoffs advance. We only have 2 more games left, Kopy, and I'm just gonna grab one of my other slips and and just tuck it right here. Oh, look, here it is. Silverado and Shadow Ridge.
Okay, got it. Um,
2
so,
of my favorite golf courses collide.
um, I got a text from Coach Miley talking about Shadow Ridge this week,
Okay.
and Miley says we did good, huh? And that was, and I was like, yeah, you did, you really did. This was definitely my favorite performance for Shadow Ridge so far this year.
Cool.
I am just thrilled at the idea and the thought that I get to walk into Shadow Ridge this year, maybe even at the end of this or next year, or I get to walk into Shadow Ridge next year, maybe at the end of this year, with these 3 girls as an example to show to anyone else that's new that doesn't know that they have a team there.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is just they bring out something in each other, and I think Miley is definitely a piece of that.
Sure.
Aaliyah, I think you made like I think you put your sword in the stone this week, and you said, "Hey, I'm gonna give you everything I got." Like that's exactly how you did it this week, Aaliyah. Your forcefulness in moments, the way you added yourself into moments that you weren't in yet, rather than just walking through the door and saying, "Hi, I'm here in this scene." It was boom. Here's my thoughts. Here's my ideas. This is how I do it. Maybe I'm a freshman, but who cares? I'm good. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, really,
Awesome.
really cool. And to show you kind of the power these 3 girls have. So there was a moment, and you might have to help me on this. There's a moment in Quick Change where Aaliyah and Belle got kind of lost in anime talk,
Oh,
where the scene initially was Belle was trapped in the monkey cage and was really scared, and
okay.
Aaliyah was trying to help navigate it. And then anime came in, and then Aaliyah very smoothly transitioned into anime talk. And oh, let me help you in weird terms, and I'm going to say things and talk like this. And then Belle immediately also weird terms, and I'm going to talk like this. And they definitely had just this weird geeking out back and forth.
Awesome.
And
What our third do?
Miley called for reality show at that point, and without skipping a beat, the third Anella jumped in, started giving perspective, giving that side of it. I mean, the most perfectly timed moment of their entire show.
Almost like narrating from and that's when terror struck, something like that. Like,
Yeah, well, from the reality TV show, whatever angle. I
okay,
mean, that's kind of the dialogue she went on.
okay,
But just, I mean, it couldn't like that couldn't have gone any smoother and funnier and simpler. That's good. That's textbook stuff. But that's
yep.
also showing what those 3 girls can do.
No missed
So,
beats.
what's that?
No missed beats, right?
Nope. Nope. So I know Miley has to be excited and feel good about that. I know Miley's got some plans for playoffs, which kind of makes me excited. We'll see. We'll see what that looks like. We might talk about it later.
Yo,
Um,
yeah, their bracket's interesting. That's gonna be a good one.
yep. On the other side of Silverado, I mean, classic Silverado this week. They played a game. Excuse me. Their head-to-head game this week was 185, and they played it in the middle of a street, where the 4 of them played in the middle of the street. But it wasn't just the 4 of them, because they filmed in person. For those of you that don't understand what I'm saying, they
Sure.
filmed in person. The 4 of them in the middle of the street, plus 2 other players that weren't in the show in the middle of the street, plus Cassie, who's an alumni who graduated last year. So
Nice.
there's 7 Silverado players standing in the middle of the street. Nick in the middle holding a guitar for whatever reason. It looked like an album cover. Like it looked like
It
like
looks, yeah,
yeah,
like Abbey Road, the Silverado version.
I'm probably gonna use that in some kind of artwork. So that alone was like, oh yes, happy. I don't even need to watch the
Right.
rest of the show. Like, thank you. This is my PR. Um, so, but if we're talking actual games, Cassie, love seeing you. Just like I was talking about before, anyone who's ever been a part of this door is always welcome for you. I will never bat an eye at a moment like that. They played a game of marshmallows, but they played it with peeps.
Okay. That's disturbing in so many levels.
But Ian wouldn't throw them the peeps. Ian had to go and put the peeps in their mouths. So anytime they would call for a marshmallow, Ian would walk over and put a peep in their mouth. It was the most awkward
I'll
part of
never
it.
look at mother birds feeding their young in the same way again. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's yeah. So was it slow and plodding and like,
yeah, it was just very Silverado-esque. Like
yeah.
it just made complete sense.
If there's a
Um,
cow, they'll milk it.
yeah, they played a game of What Else You Got, where kind of different style almost, where just very aggressive, very fast. Everyone played at least 3 rounds. Like that's how quick they went through it.
Oh,
Um,
interesting. Okay.
and I don't know if it was because Nathan and Nick set the tone, because out of the gate they were just
Pop,
strong.
pop, 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 pop,
Yeah,
pop.
just
Yeah.
I'm doing this, boom, boom, boom. What else? Just, I mean, really, really strong, and I think it set a tone. And Anastasia, who we dropped the bomb hard on last week, was in this whole show.
Rest in
As her
peace.
first show this week, she probably had the most rounds because of her just ridiculousness.
Oh,
Her
good.
way of doing What Else You Got was exactly what I'm about to explain.
Oh
It
boy.
was name a celebrity and say that they're doing it. That's
Oh, I'm
I
Tom Cruise hammering.
Yep, exactly.
I'm
And
Martha Stewart hammering.
half the time it made no sense, but it made you laugh, and it made all of them laugh around them. Like, why? Why is Arnold Schwarzenegger in the garden right now? So it's just a really neat way of doing it. So
Cool.
yeah, fun all the way around for these two teams. Very classic for Silverado for sure.
You know, I feel like if any team's ready to just go out there and be their own improv troupe, during the summertime, it's Silverado because they've been doing it pretty much all year, man, finding their
Yep.
own space and finding their own way and being themselves and not really caring about, you know, being anything like anybody else. And that is what improv can very much be all about. Love it.
Yep.
Very cool, guys. Silverado is always a fun watch. So kudos to them for wrapping up a solid season. And our final game of the week, it seems like Durango always seems to rise to the last game of the week. I almost don't do that on purpose, but I kind of do. This week they're playing Desert Pines, and boy, I hope Desert Pines at least threw some flash in their pan to blind these Durango kids. What do we got? What was this matchup like? I'm stoked to think it was probably one of the best of the week too.
Yeah, oh, of course, it was definitely strong. What I like and love about Desert Pines, and I'll say this, I think they probably have the best control in miming in the league.
Ooh,
They have that communication down. They know how to pick each other up. They know how to fill in the spots. I mean, that's that whole second language of gibberish. They got it.
yes.
So it makes before the game started, because I get all the B-roll of it, right? And I get Alex talking and giving the suggestions and talking to them. And Alex is giving a note, and Alex is saying to them, hey, this game has to be 5 minutes because of the required time minimum. If we get it early, remember, we got to find a way to stretch it. So have fun. And I'm thinking to myself, no one in this league gets miming games early. What are you
Right.
talking about? I'm like, what do you mean?
Right.
Oh my God, I get it. So yeah, it that was kind of neat because no
Okay.
one's got that control. So I hope Alex and Desert Pines has this in their pocket, and this is something they think about going forward for playoffs. I mean, their thoughts and personal opinions aside of games, because I know sometimes we just don't like games, and sometimes people don't like miming games, and some people love miming games. So let's hope that
True.
this is on the like miming game side, but also kind of like Cheyenne, they make each other laugh. I think they enjoy their weirdness.
Oh yeah.
They played a game where Sarah and Jalen, for whatever reason, were both wearing Teletubby heads, like actual, like
Oh,
full Velcro Teletubby heads.
so we couldn't see their faces?
You could see just this part of their face, but the
Fun.
full head around it.
So fun.
I mean, never explained, just that. Um,
It wasn't part of their character at all.
no, just
Okay.
them
Cool.
being Teletubbies.
That's great.
Uh, and I think that's part of who they are too. So Their scores are consistent. They are always a lot of fun.
Yep.
Desert Pines will definitely be strong going to these playoffs. They have been. I mean, since
Yeah.
day one, they've been strong.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
flipping over to Durango, Durango put another stab at instant soap opera. Um,
Okay.
yep, this was a game that I said when they played it last time that it was probably the best example of instant soap opera so far.
Yep.
So they gave it another go at it, and I mean, I get it. They have no one on that team has any fear in anything.
Agreed.
I think if we were to tell them go play instant soap opera in the mall, they would probably go do it.
Ooh,
Yeah, they don't have any fear.
that's awesome.
And that's how they played it. So, switch interview, as simple as it is, and I know we don't talk about this enough with Durango, but just it's kind of switch interview kind of has the baseline simplicity of improv, right? Yes, and
Yep.
initiation, response, the setup, right? That's what
Yeah.
switch interview kind of is.
It could be used to teach almost any individual element of what we do. Keep going. Excuse me.
Right. I mean, they destroyed it. I mean,
Oh, sure.
yeah, it was kind of refreshing to watch Switch interview and just go, man, this was really good.
Nice.
And then on the other side of it, because I've tried to talk about each player this year with Durango because of how good they've been doing. This week for me is Alicia's week.
Ooh, that is
Yeah,
a name I don't recall getting too much love.
Alicia also has no idea how good she is.
Cool.
I would, if we had a best kept secret category. I mean, we've said that maybe twice this year about players, about best kept secrets. Alicia has to be one of the best kept secrets in the league. I mean, just however Durango finds these students, man. The last time I talked to Alicia, my comments to her was, "I'm so happy. This is your school, your team. You're a part of this. You are perfect for this group." I mean, just thank you for being here. Yeah,
Nice.
best kept secret for sure.
Cool. Cool. And another great show, no doubt about it. Could be a preview in some version of our championship day. Could it be Desert Pines versus Durango? We don't know. It sounds like this week, a number of different teams who have flown under the radar stepped up and said, excuse me, we're here. We're here. We're right here. And it sounds like there was a lot of quality improv for week 8. And going into our first week of playoffs, I'm stoked for it. I know that we have 5 teams, right, that captured a bye, and then everybody else plays. And we're going to talk about the bracket in just a few moments. But first, our normal follow-up series of segments. Let's talk a little bit about, let's see, the props. The props matter the most. You may know that props have entered our improv league this year, getting a lot of highlights week in and week out as they aid your scenes, whether they be a blanket, a hat, or something in between. You guys are using them, and they're elevating your quality of shows. Now, let's hear which teams, students, schools, scenes, segments really made improv fun for Kopy to watch over the last week with his 3 props. What are you dishing out for your first one, sir?
I think I got to give my first prop this week to Bentley from Cimarron.
Okay.
When I say Bentley is clueless, I mean that boy is clueless. I hope 10 of you watching this video right now finds Bentley on social media and forwards this chunk of the video to him, so that he even is on the radar of understanding what he can do and how much he can offer. He deserves a prop. He is like the things that kid can do, man. The brain is there, the intelligence is there, the coach is there, the team is there.
Oh, yeah.
He's got such a platform to be him.
Cool.
I hope that this gets deep rooted for him. I hope he's loving this, and I hope he's a junior, not a senior.
Right. Gotta check
So
that fact.
right. So yeah, Bentley's got to get prop number 1.
Yeah, it sounds like when it comes to Cimarron's improv stock, it's only going one direction because Bentley, you don't know how good you are. Please move on. What's our second prop?
Dude, I gotta give it to Jackson from Pahrump.
Cool. What a cool come up that is.
Man, Jackson, just it was really close to me between Jackson from Pahrump or Susan from Cheyenne.
Okay.
Just from their one-liners, all shows this week. But I'm going to give it just because I don't know if I've given it enough to Jackson yet. But man, this was definitely a week for you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Cracking up each game, your monster truck stuff, like just every little thing you said,
Mm.
really made me enjoy it. Pahrump, thank you, Jackson. Rock and roll. You deserve props this week.
Cool. Keep it going, Jackson. I remember watching you perform when that week when we played you Del Sol and Pahrump, and yeah, I love your I joked that you remind me of Alex Kane, your coach, and it's there, but I'm sure you're developing your own style and texture, and it's really fun to see what you're pulling from people around you. That's always the mark of a cool improviser, somebody who can pay attention to each other enough to take what they like, but then adds enough of themselves. And you've got plenty of yourself to show off. So congrats on the props. Really fun stuff. And your third prop, Cope.
I would feel completely remiss if I didn't give that third prop to Mackenzie,
Uh-huh.
um, from
Sure.
Centennial.
Yeah.
I just, what else can I say? Anyone who's willing to give back to this league, after all the years that they give, it reaches me in a different way. So, Mackenzie, thank you. Welcome back. I hope you give playoffs a run, because this league is better with you in it. So, thank you.
Hmm. Kopy's tears, they fall like rain. I love them so much when he's so sad over all of the love he has for these students. That's making me so happy. Thank you for your tears. Any student that can make Kopy cry is a good student. 100% in my book. Anyway, very cool props, Kopy. Now collect yourself. We want to talk now about the Kopy's challenge. This is our final chance to really refine ourselves before playoffs, and a major lesson can still be learned this late in the game. How do we teach these old dogs new tricks, Kopy? What's our Kopy challenge?
You know what? I think I made a challenge that had a similar taste to this one, but I've got a very specific reason for this week.
There's that word
Um,
again, taste.
um, what I would like everyone to do this week, and seriously, take 30 seconds. Don't spend a lot of time doing this. Take 30 seconds, get on the Jesters website, and start going through the history. Go through the
Mm,
history portion of the website, look at the champions, look at the awards, look at the winners, watch a video if you want. If you want to see me cry, watch the Jack Elton Awards,
yo,
watch the MVP. Like, you know what? Watch all the awards and you'll see me cry.
watch them
Um,
all.
just the history here is very rich and very powerful and meaningful and beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, and if you really want to get a taste of what this league is about and what the playoffs are about, that will excite you. Win or lose, honestly, there will be a bittersweet moment for everyone who does lose. Just know that all teams but one are going to lose. But that it's the beauty of it. What you're going to look at when you see this website, when you look at this side of the website, is what's going to reflect. It's what's going to speak to you. So please do that. The 4-year players are all already listed, because there's no secret to hide there. So the 4-year page is already updated. You will see over the next 2 weeks, you're going to see the award nominations.
Sweet.
I have a full timeline of that.
Yep.
You're going to see the first round get posted. You're going to see who wins the first round. Me and Warren are going to reveal that in a recap.
Oh boy.
Um, you'll see the rookie of the year, the most improved, the MVP, the all Jesters main stage cast. You're going to see the all stars. One of you from each team will be able to perform this year in person at the all star show. Yeah, there's a lot there to see. A lot of stats, a lot of cool things.
Yeah, let me go ahead and yes and that super hard. As a coach in this league for 7 years, I think I've been Kopy's championship day cameraman for like 5 of them. Standing behind the lens and watching Kopy deliver these awards and orchestrate these shows, and feeling the positive energy come together on championship day is something that can't be overstated. We've had a very unique year, but if there's one thing that we've proven as a group, as a league, it's that we are stronger than what has gone on in the world. And now we're going to give a reward of sorts and a chance for us to celebrate each other in person on championship day. So if you've watched any of these and you haven't quite clicked on why this is such a special thing for our league, please do exactly as Kopy's saying. Go on highschooljesters.com and watch it all and see the speeches and see the games, watch the coaches shows and the awards shows and whatever's available to you that inspires you about what we've been doing all year, because Kopy's emotions are not the only thing that make it special. All of you, every single one of you, every single team, every single eliminated team, every single graduated student, every single jester who's active, alumni, or future in the audience cheering on their big brothers and sisters. These are special moments that we create on championship day. So get stoked. And I know I'm already excited to be behind the camera watching Kopy cry a little more.
Yeah.
So join me,
Well, if
won't
you
you?
listen closely in a couple of those videos, you'll hear Warren cry too.
Yo, Roman's got me, man. That's all I can say. When Roman took off his hat, I died on the inside. It was the hardest thing I could ever do, not to cry openly and loudly. But man, this league is beautiful. Go watch the videos that prove it and get ready, because you deserve what's going to happen on championship day, whether you're out in round one or sitting pretty as the champs. There's a lot to appreciate. I'm getting chills just thinking about it, and that's as honest as I can get. And it's not just because my picture this week places me in Seattle, Washington, where I was over the course of the last 7 days. The reason why I bring that up is because this is the Dale Chihuly Blown Glass Garden, Kopy. And the reason why I wanted to tie that into what we talked about today is because blown glass is an art form very much like improv in my mind, because art, especially done by Dale Chihuly now these days, is actually born from his brain and written onto these cool drawings, and then his team that he's taught and apprenticed this entire run in his career, they're the ones who actually create his art now, and they all install it, and it's all pieces of all these little elements. I want you guys to look at this thing that looks like the sun. All of those are hundreds and hundreds of little elements that his team put together through his vision. And improv is just like that. I want you guys to know that. Improv is just like that. It's a team effort. Sometimes it's one person's vision. If you've got an initiator on your team, or you got somebody who's capable of steering your scene, this is their vision. And you all can glue it together to make something that stands the test of time and sits at the base of the Space Needle and just chills, regardless of the weather. Your scenes can be that powerful. The reason why I'm bringing that up now is because we're going to go into our Kopy question of the week. And Kopy, I'm going to actually do something I've never done. I'm going to ask you a coaching question as if it was me, Warren, calling about Del Sol. And I want you to digest it and share it with us, because it's just part of what you do for all of us. It's your vision. And perhaps this is going to help us piece our sons together just a little bit better. Tell me, can we as a league consciously and effectively compete against the impulse to talk over one another? Now that we're entering playoffs, we know that that's something that on stage hinders our improv. In the digital form, it's just as dangerous. How can we work together as a team to better facilitate conversation with one another in this digital form as we go into playoffs? What would be your advice for that impulse to talk over one another? How can we coach against that?
Well, there's a real life element when it comes to that. So I mean that exact thing is what I would always steer you towards. In real life, talking over each other also leads to the same outcome. It's a crappy scene. So
Mm,
there's no more proof in the pudding than that. And the neat thing about learning how to not talk over each other in improv is that you are learning to do that because there's a purpose, and that purpose is what can actually help you learn how not to do that in real life.
mm,
That
mm-hmm,
can almost train you to be a better conversationalist and communicator in person.
mm-hmm.
um, I mean, that one's just got to be proof in the pudding. We all know it. We've all been a part of it. We all see it. um, I would immediately put that on real life.
Yeah, just remember that every scene you do is a real life conversation, regardless of the ridiculousness of the content. If you guys are creating something strange, that's fine. Just remember to respect one another and listen with intent, not to answer what they're saying, but to be like water, friends. Be like water. Be ready to adapt at any moment because your scenes are fluid and they're alive, and they shouldn't be something you come in rigidly expecting to follow one single format. If something changes beyond the move, but be ready to listen first and foremost. And I think that's something we all really want to make sure is sharp. We go back to level one on this, but listening is the key to improv more than anything else. So really consciously listen as you enter playoffs to one another, because that's where your chemistry is truly going to shine and your sons are going to form. I'm going to switch over to a different picture real quick as we get into the second half of our show. Cause guys, yeah, it's been an hour and 44 minutes, but we're going to do a completely different a variation of our content real quick because we want to talk about these playoffs. We've been alluding to them this entire time. There they are. The bracket is live, and we are going to go through it quickly. Kopy, one more picture for you from the blown glass garden before I put the bracket as our background. Do you see
Mhm.
this? Do you see this boat full of glass pieces?
Oh,
You know
that's
what
a
that
boat.
is?
What?
You want to hear my improv analogy for this one?
Yep.
So the green one is one school and the blue one is another school, and you may get where I'm going here, but every glass piece is a school, and collectively this is our league, and we have a really great shot on our website of all of the students from a couple of championship shows ago being on stage and filling up an entire shot kind of like this before they say an all-star collectively, because that's who we are as a league. But what I really want to point out is the bottom. You see the boat itself, Kopy, you know what the boat is?
What?
Boat is you, Kopy. Thank you, Kopy. You carry all of us across the waters of improvisational and imaginary awesomeness, I suppose. So thanks for being the anchor for our league and having this potpourri of good art to check out. And guys, the Chihuly Garden of Glass in Seattle, Washington. If you've never been there, go. I'm from Seattle, so I have to plug it for a second. But this is a wonderful analogy for life and for improv. Let's pull up the bracket and let's jump in. Guys, we're going to do this quickly, whether you like it or not. I'm going to throw out a matchup, and Kopy is going to just give us some nice gut reactions to what we're looking at. And he's not going to predict who's going to win. He's more likely to tell us what he's looking forward to between these two schools, what we are excited to see, where the sparks will fly. He's got the bracket in front of him, and now so will I. Let's rock and roll, Kopy. Our first matchup for this playoff pits the Eldorado team versus Team Love. That's Clark. Two teams that both got glowing reviews today. Eldorado, you said Miley was new coming out of it. That was a good week. And Clark with their best score yet and part of the best game of the week. What do you think this one's going to look like in round one?
Um, Eldorado and Clark is actually a rematch for this year.
Yep.
They played a week or so ago,
Yep.
and they had a very highly competitive show.
Yep.
Both teams really contributed and did good work. And I think both teams are probably sitting in the same spot right now, looking at that show and
Uh-huh.
going, "Huh, what do I do? How do I do it?" I feel like there's the science brain is going right now.
Okay.
Well, if I do this, maybe my scores will be that. But here's kind of what I'm looking forward to the most is I'm looking forward to Clark's continuous climb. I'm looking forward to them really being the best version of themselves. And like you said earlier, probably the best version we've seen of Clark in the past number of years.
Right.
So that's I'm really looking forward to. And on the other side of El Dorado, I'm looking forward to those old veterans going out in style.
Mm.
Like John Elway, like go in. I mean, no, you've been doing this a long time. This is it. Like Josh, Ronnie, this is it, guys. Go give everything you got.
Oh.
Ronnie, you know what it's like to be in this position. Ronnie, you have done the impossible. You beat Tuacahn. You made it to the Final Four. You've been in a spot that a lot of us have not.
Oh.
So let's go out with a bang, El Dorado. Energy. Pull that energy. I want to see 4 Kool-Aid mans when I watch El Dorado.
Man, I'm so stoked for that matchup. Ronnie versus Mallow, for some reason, really sparks in my brain. There's
Ooh.
something about that dynamic that could be really fun if we see both of them in that playoff. And if we don't see Ronnie, then something's wrong. But Mallow's done an amazing job over at Clark, really giving them a fun second half of their year. And yeah, let's see that momentum slide them in. Let's see what happens. Our next matchup, Kopy, because that's how quick we want to rock these. How about Burkhart and Shadow Ridge in round one of our Hold'em conference?
Well, you got two coaches that are friends, that graduated together, that
Yep.
played, performed together, that are competing against each other. I love when that kind of thing happens.
Yep.
Here we are. And, I mean, heck, Miley's an old teammate of Marley still. Like that's how long Marley's been around for Burkhart.
Yep.
Miley, of course, the coach of Shadow Ridge. So I just want to see more of my three-headed girls at Shadow Ridge. And I don't know exactly what combination either team's going to play yet as far as who's playing and whatnot. But I couldn't be any more thrilled with where Shadow Ridge is. Burkhart has kind of been this kind of rough against the grain team, actually, even back to the Palo Verde days. And I have no problem saying that out loud at this point. That's kind of who Palo Verde always was rough and against the grain, and that's what Burkhart is and has adapted to. So we're going
Mm-hmm.
to lose a lot of the Burkharts this year in graduation. So who knows if we're going to get Burkhart again moving forward? I mean, just public disclaimer.
Yeah.
So Burkhart, give it all you got. You want this ride to last as long as you can because now it matters.
Mm,
So Shadow Ridge, I'm happy you get to be a part of the process for the first time. Enjoy it, love
mm.
it. You've got a great leader that will get the most out of it with you. And Burkhart, go get them.
Yo, Marley is like a mini Miley in my heart. Has been since maybe the second year. I think Marley absorbed so much of Miley so quickly that since then it's just been Marley learning who else she is. And boy, there's so many big personalities and fun performers on that matchup that you guys should definitely not think of that as a gimme for either team. That's going to be really fun.
Right.
Northwest CTA, Green Valley. Wow, that's quite a fascinating matchup. The first time ever I think I've ever heard of those two playing each other, period. What do we
Yeah,
got?
two teams really far from each other. Um,
True.
yeah, man, you've got veterans on both sides that make this scarier.
Yep.
So I mean, we know what Erica has done for Northwest, playing in the championship as a freshman. Here she
Yeah.
is. What Isaiah's doing. I'm praising Liliana up and down. I mean, there's definitely always something scary to think about when it comes to Northwest, but it'd be hard not to say that Green Valley has not been on a roll this year. Just a constant roll with all sorts of tricks to show for it. So I just have no idea, honestly. Like if I'm flipping a coin on one, I'm flipping a coin on this one.
Oh.
I'm not giving any predictions, but I will tell you this one's gonna be tough.
Yes, absolutely. I'm seeing Kiana versus Erica in my mind. I'm seeing Isaiah and Rufus having some fireworks. I can see this being the game of the first round. Somebody's got to go home. I don't want either of these teams to go home. Wow, I'm stoked for it. Buckle up for that one, guys. That's a tearjerker right off the bat. Not we don't want to see any team go home. Don't get me wrong, but there's something about the history between these two schools that are now colliding for the first time in my recollection that just makes it so unique, and it's going to be a tough one. Silverado versus Sierra Vista, two teams with two major league personalities in Misha and Nick, and if we get to see them, hopefully there will be a Viv and there will be a Nathan, and they'll be showing up to play hard, both of them for their respective teams. And then there's some cool underlying stories for each team too, like Rowan, and every little thing that Silverado has done to stand out this year for their school. So what do we think about this first round matchup?
Yeah, I mean both teams got players to pick from, so we
Right.
can't be for certain who's gonna play.
Yep.
Um, I mean, you would think Nick's going to play, 4-year senior, all-star. I mean, Nick's such a orchestra conductor back there.
Right.
You would think we'd see him. You'd think we'd see Misha. Misha was nominee for MVP last season for
Yep.
Sierra Vista.
Yeah.
and just what she's capable of. You think we'd see Viv. So it really depends. Actually, yeah, there's 3 award nominees between these 2 teams, between Nathan, Viv, and Misha. Um, I mean, who
Oh,
knows what we're going
okay.
to actually see as far as what they play and pick and so on. So
Yeah.
I know that Song really racks her brain when it comes to playoffs and how to pick and what to do.
Yeah.
I know Nick and Isaac and Silverado. I mean, they're constantly creative. I actually both Isaac and Song was asking me about playoffs today. So I mean, this ball's rolling. Let's see what happens. Bittersweet has to happen, and we'll see who advances.
Coaching is a huge part of this. Very good point. Son and Isaac are 2 of the more cerebral coaches in our league. And Isaac is the king of larger than life, and Song's energy is larger than life. So you're going to see that come out from both teams. They're going to come out swinging.
Mhm.
Cannot wait to see that one. Really can't. And to my Sierra Vista alumni, Misha and Viv, who I worked with several years ago, I am so excited to see you guys go full swing. If you do play in these playoffs, I have such faith that you guys will be shining lights for your groups and have fun. Please have fun and have faith. Next, let's rock and roll with Perump and the defending champion Cimarron. Is there a world where our friends 40 miles to the west are going to pluck out our champions a la Sunrise Mountain over Tuacahn a couple years ago when that shocked the world? Is there a shocker coming? You're not
Y-
going to say who's going to win, but I'm just saying, there's potential. There's
y-
potential.
Yeah, you just never know, man. I mean, Jackson got my props today.
Right.
I'm loving where they
And Bentley.
are. Yep, and Pahrump got props earlier this year as well too. I think in week 2. I mean, there's plenty of value there, and when they're together, they do good stuff. They do good work, and that's what's cool about Pahrump. And I've said it before, Pahrump is just cool. Like I find myself just buried in conversation when I chat with them. And it's hard to sidetrack me, but they find a way to sidetrack me when I chat with them. So um, yeah, they definitely have potential. Cimarron could be scary depending on who they play and what they do. I mean, Coach Justin's still there, and I mean, we can talk about that all day.
Sure.
But hey, in order to win it, you got to win. So you got to. This is it now. So you got to carry forward. So there is no gimme in this one, I don't think.
No, no, I don't think so either. So bring the energy, bring the flavor, bring the fun. That round 1 matchup will be, one way or another, a lot of fun. Team Adorable and Spring Valley. Centennial and Spring Valley clash in the first round of the playoffs. You got to like this matchup because these are 2 teams you kind of want to see get a win, if you don't mind me saying. Kind of in your heart, you kind of just want to snuggle in and watch them win one. What's it going to look like as they go for it, Kopy?
So I talked about the coin flip with Northwest and Green Valley, but I think there's no matchup that's more of a coin flip than this one.
Mm,
I a couple of coaches even brought up to me this week, "Hey man, Centennial Spring Valley, isn't that the playoff show from a year or 2 ago where you played it?" It just they had an epic first round show a couple of years
yeah,
ago.
I do remember that.
I remember even jumping in and playing because it was just so much fun.
Sure.
And that's the bittersweet moment, but that's exactly what you want. That's the show you want to go out on.
Yep.
So here we are getting to rewrite some more history together. And it kind of stinks that one of them's got to go again.
Yep.
But Spring Valley has been definitely one of the most consistent teams this year.
Yep.
They are capable of anything. They
Nicole
can really
do.
do
Yeah,
anything.
absolutely.
Centennial's another big squad. Centennial probably could have got one of the wild card spots because of how many students they had.
Uh-huh.
Centennial just gave me a new shirt order today. Like that's how many students they have. So, like
Wow.
they could have had that spot. So, what they do, when they do it, who plays. I know Mackenzie had me crying before. Kaylee's a monster. So it's just who knows what's going to be put out there. So this is definitely my biggest coin flip.
Yeah, Mackenzie and Kaylee
Yep.
and M and Nicole would be such a fun dynamic duo pairing if that happens in the playoff. Like
It's a
there's no
great it's a great pairing, but I would just say anyone on Spring Valley is just they got it.
cool. Let's
Yep.
go. Let's go. Let's go. That closes out our Hold'em conference. Moving over to our playoff round 1 in the poker conference. It's Legacy and Desert Oasis.
I'm actually really excited for this one. Legacy, I think Marshall and Caitlin definitely left a stamp when they graduated last year
Mm-hmm.
and really opened the door for some youth to kind of come in and really shine. And that's, I think, what they've done. So
Yeah.
I loved what Gigi as a newbie has come in to do. Uh,
Yes.
I love Louis finding his fitting. Louis clearly is someone that this entire league talks about and remembers.
Yeah.
So for me to
Yeah.
see Legacy now have a shot and do these playoffs, like I'm super excited about that.
Yeah.
Flipping over for Corey, Corey as Desert Oasis, like this was one of the happiest and smartest choices I made this year, I think, as far as placing a coach with a team and a group. And that love is there, that growth is real. It's going to be, it would be almost impossible to separate Corey and Desert Oasis next year. So I'm
Good to
excited
hear.
for Corey. I'm excited for the team. I'm excited for Abby. I'm excited for Melissa. I'm excited for all of them that are a part of this particular show. So go out, leave it out on the digital stage, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's gonna be a barn burner, that one. Lots of fun. Really cool story in Desert Oasis. And really, I mean, I love watching Louis justify all the stuff that goes on over there. And Alex on Legacy, if we see Alex in the playoff, I mean, there will be no shortage of incredibly creative and random ideas. So just keep yes and in those, and that could be a team that shocks anybody, either of them, really. Excuse me. West Tech, Las Vegas, fight.
So we've talked a little bit about West Tech today with, I mean, their big team, the wild card stuff. So I know in like just kind of the way you're dealing with it, and Centennial's probably dealing with it, just with that many students, who do you play and whatnot.
Right.
Song has 5 seniors, I believe, this year.
Oh, wow.
Um, and that plays a factor, like as far as who to play, when to play, and so on. So Song's got choices to make, games to decide on, and who plays what games. Like that's all strategy, y'all. So that's kind of your catch. Now Vegas is definitely a little smaller, even though Vegas, I think, even with the players that really didn't play this year or play a whole lot, like I think 8 seniors or 9 seniors, something like that, is
Oh
what Vegas
boy.
is. Yeah. But it's going to be the 4 girls, like hands down. I have no doubt that the 4 girls that have been rocking us all season long are going to keep going. So Jenna East, Jennifer Metzley, and Anaya, and you deserve it. Like you 4 deserve this show and a chance to get in the playoffs and just say, hey, this is what I've been doing all year. And
Yeah.
Anaya, who works at Chipotle, who did a coin toss in her break room with me, like that. This is what you girls deserve. Like you deserve this moment, and I hope you have a blast. I hope you remember it. Like, who knows who's gonna win? But let's just leave it all out on the digital stage, as we're saying.
I love both these stories. I really do. West Tech's had an amazing year of growth, I would say, just in so many different ways. So many different ways to say growth was really what they achieved. And Las Vegas has escalated in their momentum as the year has gone on and gotten solider. It's more and more solid, more and more strong together. And yeah, I think we've talked a number of times about how Anaya has kind of been able to come in and build a team around themselves after learning under so many amazing personalities over at Valley for years. And this is really their chance to swing for the fences. So this is a fun matchup too. One that is just as bittersweet to me as Green Valley and Northwest. As
Well,
far as I don't really want anybody to win or lose, you know?
yeah, and Anaya, Rookie of the Year nominee last year. West Tech has not had a chance to go through playoffs yet.
Right.
Last year was their first year, so this is their first chance at it. And you think about some of those seniors that graduated last year from West Tech that just didn't get the shot.
Yeah.
So Brent and Daryl and so on. So, yeah, I mean, this will be one of their last shows, which kind of
Uh,
stinks, but it's
yeah.
what it is.
Let's go.
Yep.
Secta and Valley close out this very interesting bracket. And boy, what a fun matchup that is going to be. So much energy and excitement. I can't imagine this not being fireworks. What do you think?
You know what? I feel like Mr. Ingles, the teacher and coach for Secta, is probably a little hungrier than I've seen him come playoff time.
Ooh.
And Secta has definitely produced some epic people that have been a part of this league. I mean,
Oh,
one
yeah.
right here. So
Thanks,
I mean,
man.
Secta has definitely given us a lot, and Mr. Ingles has always been at the start of that. So
Yep.
um, this is probably the hungriest I've seen him in a while, and he's got some good pieces. So I'm excited for that. Like I'm happy for that. I talk about Ava a lot, very adoringly, because I believe in what Ava does. Lexi's got plenty of talent. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure the brothers are probably going to get in there in some combination.
Mm-hmm.
So there are pieces there to work with, and let's see what they do with it. I think they've already recorded. I think they're done. So they're ready and prepared. And then
Oh.
Valley on the other side of it, I mean, Gio has been chomping on the bit like every year. He comes playoff time, he's excited, he's ready. Coach Gio, I'm ready for you. I talked to Coach Gio about it today. Is I said that I didn't think that Valley has ever won a playoff show before. He reminded me that there was one playoff show they won his freshman year where I was mistaken.
Yeah.
It's the only playoff show that they've won. Uh,
Ever?
yep, ever.
When I coached Valley that one year, in the beginning, didn't we get one? I thought we
With
got one.
with Hector, and you guys lost to Chaparral.
Okay, be that way. That's fine. You can
That
go.
was the shocker because we thought Hector, MVP Hector, was going to pull that one out.
Nope, that was the year after I left. I'm talking about the one before that. But it's okay. We don't need to get too caught up in the past. I understand why you say that.
Hey, 1999 vet. No, just kidding.
I ain't touching the 99s. Now you're dating yourself, sir.
But that was a cool conversation I had with Gio. So now Gio being in his fifth year and actually being the coach, like
Right.
he loves it. He thinks about this stuff a lot.
Yeah.
Those four kids have worked hard this year. They're creative. They deserve a chance to move on and showcase and be who they are. I just, yeah, that is such a special little group that just really came together. And I don't know if I would have predicted that. I don't know if initially I would have been like, man, Valley's going to be special.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Oh, yeah. It's truly the decisions that are made and the hunger that's put forth in the improv. Leave it all out on the table, Roadrunners and Vikings. Please leave no stone unturned. We are rooting for both of you. At least I am. My alma mater versus my original team that I coached. Like, let's just take a deep breath. That's too much. Speaking of too much, how about the rest of this bracket? My goodness, this path is interesting for Arborview and East Tech. One team that's really gained a ton of momentum, and the other that's quietly, I mean, can I say sleeper about Arborview? Arborview, little under the radar?
Yep. So
Yup.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So East Tech's got a lot of tricks, and I like what Romeo likes to throw out and play with and test.
Mm-hmm.
Romeo clearly has a style, and he's got a lot of students that have also their own style. Like I was talking about with Connor earlier.
Right.
Connor's really his own like entity. He should take out a business license for himself.
Wow.
Yeah, Kit and even what Paulo's doing and their younger players, Jose, the creativity that they have. So I'm interested to see what Romeo decides to go with for first round. But then you've got the girls that I've talked about the power in those two with
Yes.
Allison and Audrey, and I confirmed because I got. Uh, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I got awful news. Yeah, I got awful news earlier or yesterday. I got from Centennial that Kaylee's also a senior, and I
Oh,
went this whole year thinking she was a junior. And immediately that made me, for whatever reason,
mm,
immediately my brain associated Audrey and Allison from Arborview, and I had to confirm it right away. They are both juniors, so we get
okay.
at least one more year of that duo. Um,
Yo.
it's weird for me to I don't know if CJ's going to play. I don't know if Ashton's going to play. Like there's just I don't know what combination Ariel's going to go for. But Ariel does smart work, and so I believe in her brain and what she's
Yeah.
going to pull out. I'm excited. I don't know.
I like this matchup of coaches too. Ariel, you're right, is kind of a great stake mind for improv, and Romeo is all about that sizzle, if you know what I mean from this comparison. Like, Ariel's going to tell you how to build an amazing scene that with flourishes of personality, and Romeo is going to tell you how to build a memorable scene with lots of vibrancy, with a surprisingly smart story underneath it. So two very different textured approaches to improv. And that's going to be a really fun matchup right off the bat. Can't wait to see how that one plays out. And this one, man, oh, I got goosebumps about Desert Pines and LVA. Like straight goosebumps. We're talking about one of the greatest teams in the traditional Jesters Eastern Conference in LVA versus a team that I personally love watching every time I get the chance to in Desert Pines. So I cannot wait for this one. For the quality of improv we're gonna get, it seems impossible for it to be poor. What do
I,
you got?
yeah, I agree. I don't know if any combination in this is going to be wrong. I think Coach Cameron, Coach Tirza got some choices to make as far as who plays. Desert Pines is definitely smaller, so it's a lot easier. But that cohesiveness is tough to break.
So hard.
So, you know, I think both of them are capable of winning this one. I mean, hands down, I will not be surprised in any capacity whoever wins this. Um, both are capable, both are strong, both can do amazing work. So
It's that simple. And the coaching staffs here are amazing because Alex Keene, one of the biggest characters I've ever met in my life, certainly all over the place when it comes to what he can contribute in any scene, and it shows in his electric student brains. And then you look at Coach Cameron, one of my favorite theatrical performers we have ever had doing improv with us, and that he's over there with the theater kids, LVA. Like, there's no reason for them to not come out with some really fun and cool ideas of what to do in the playoffs. So, and Tirza is arguably the greatest female performer we've ever had in the league. Fight me if you want, but we'll do that another time. Um,
I would support that statement definitely.
so let's buckle up for an amazing matchup there. And Kopy, I know you're sick of talking to me.
Well, no, we got to mention the other five still.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you think about giving some ideas of what these five buy teams need to be thinking about as they head into their first round against? It doesn't matter who they're facing. What should they be doing to prepare if they're, say, basic?
So the five teams that have a bye, and if any of you are looking at the bracket, right over Warren's shoulder, you'll see Durango there is kind of moved over to the more towards the center of that bracket to the page. There's five teams that are in that category. The reason that they're there is because they actually finished top five in scoring. So essentially it's kind of like a small reward of saying, here, this is the work you did this year. But
Mm-hmm.
know that the scoring can only mean so much. So here's what I mean by that: is we all have big teams. We all try and rotate. We have players that are new. We have players that are veterans. So the season has a different purpose sometimes than scoring. So the
Yeah,
scoring can really only mean so much.
right.
So it is a nice pat on the back, but just know where that's coming from. If any of you are sports fans at all, one of the biggest sports events of the year is March Madness. March Madness is a bracket that isn't too unlike this,
Oh yeah,
where all these college basketball teams play in this gigantic bracket. And every year, something happens that shocks the basketball world. And we are already several shocks into this year's bracket.
100%. Texas went down to some Athens Christian school or something like that. Crazy.
That was a 3 and a 14 matchup, but even more so, a 15 beat a 2.
Oh
So Will
man,
Roberts beat Ohio State, and everyone's number 2 bracket for Ohio State is now gone after the first round.
crazy.
So what I tend to think about bye weeks is that sometimes it allows you to have extra time to work on things. And then sometimes that's the worst thing that can possibly happen because the other team's got momentum.
100%. So
So
true.
that is exactly kind of the good and the bad of what a bye means.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. Who knows? We've had buys probably every year in Jesters,
Right.
maybe. So it's not unusual, but I've also seen the good and the bad. I've seen the bye team run the bracket, and I've seen the bye team get eliminated first.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
just who knows?
Don't take it as anything other than congratulations, you're on the hot seat a little later than everybody else. That's all. And so let's talk about these 5 teams. I threw out basic first because I think it's one that we have a really good job of identifying who they are and what they're about. They're a scene-based team. They're a group of veterans. They have a couple key pieces who get to advance into next year, but for many of them, these are faces of our league getting ready to leave, like Lily. Super big deal. Jacob, who's always been one of the more underrated creators, I think, that we've had. This is a team that I think the league likes to watch, and they've been strong for the last 3 years. So, what do they need to do as they get ready for their second round matchup, regardless of who's across from them?
I it's kind of the conversation I alluded to earlier that I even
Exactly.
had with Jacob. So sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So go do what you know how to do, and if you can put a little pepper on your steak, it might make it taste a little better.
Give me some
So
seasoning, baby.
yep. So I mean that's my best advice for them. I know they rack their brains with technique and whatnot. Their coach is all about technique. That's what she knew. That's what she knows. That's how she works. It makes sense. Sometimes technique wins you a championship. Sometimes technique doesn't win you a championship. We're gonna find
Right.
out.
Yeah, it's really an amazing thing. There's so many variables that can determine the outcome. So basic, yeah, it's true. Having watched you guys play a lot this year, I just want to say to definitely throw some new stuff at the wall, and just be ready to catch it. That yes and button needs to be nice and warm. Your listening skills glued in, and maybe throw a little extra Jacob out there. A little extra Jacob. There's something about Jacob who's always been very good at reacting. So what if we start with him reacting to something that he has made up and let everybody else kind of follow him? I think you're capable of doing that. It might be the one thing that really helps you season thy steak with deliciousness. Another team that's going to be sitting out here. Oh boy, who should we discuss next? What a tasty smorgasbord of talent. I'm going to say Cheyenne. What do you think, Cheyenne?
Yeah. So Cheyenne is probably the most shocked out of these 5 teams to be where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're just for this moment of getting this by, they probably feel very Cinderella teamish, which is a sports term for those of you that aren't familiar.
Or a
Uh,
Disney term if you're
or
traditional.
yes, it's a Disney term. Cinderella lost their glass slippers, or Cheyenne lost their glass slippers. So in Cheyenne's case, they have been jarring, and that's kind of been their style. And well, guess what? Guess who their coach is? So it makes complete sense. They are where they are. Sam is a jarring individual as is. DJ is capable of anything. Susan, I'm so happy you've kind of found some groove and you are just so clearly yourself. Kimura, I mean, just what you add to that group. What's kind of interesting and weird, but all 4 of these students will be separated next year.
Oh,
So, like the 4 main Cheyenners. So, Kimura is transferring to LVA.
okay.
Sam is transferring to CSN High School. Jay,
Okay.
of course, is graduating. And Susan's going to be the only lone Cheyenner to carry forward.
Wow.
So, but I wonder if that doesn't give the 4 of you just this sense of excitement to just give what you got, because
Yeah.
I think the 4 of you really enjoyed this together. And what would make it even more enjoyable than a nice playoff run?
Oh,
So,
like, yeah,
light,
100%.
lights out, guys. Go do what you've been doing all year.
That's really cool. That's a thing that's definitely something to speak to, is this feeling like, you're only got one chance to rock this. You only got one shot. Is that how that goes? Don't let it slip, because one way or another you're disbanding. Live this up and swing for the fences. And boy, Sam Umholtz. Ah, What a fun person to improv next to and just watch think. So listen to Coach, listen to each other. You've got every tool you need. Just trust each other and trust yourselves. I'm excited for you. Um, Looking at these three teams that are left, I'm just gonna say, talk about Del Sol. What should they be thinking about?
This is probably a long time coming for Del Sol. So I just these older veterans, you deserve a bye. You deserve everything you're about to get because of what you guys are capable of. So um also enjoy the ride. I'm sure you're going to have your moments of anxiety and your moments of, what are we doing? Are we going to doing this right? Did we screw that up? Just there's a reason you are where you are right now. So you have to also enjoy it. So preparation's only going to take you so far.
Yeah.
So yeah, you are going to do great things. I have no doubt whether you do one show or you make it to the championship, that it's going to be the best possible performance you can give, because that's what you guys do.
We Del Sol, Robin, Christian, Mia, they're the seniors, and if anybody knows how I work as a coach, it's that my seniors play in the playoffs. That's how it works with me. What we've got behind them is an amazing smorgasbord of different pieces, and I really don't know what we're going to decide to do. Why? Because we can do quite a few different things, and I say that with pride and gratitude to my students who've listened and absorbed and bonded and grown together. Your team is going to be what is your greatest strength, kiddos. So remember, I think more importantly than anything, when I say I want our team to listen, I want our team to listen. I want our team to listen. Just be glued into each other and be ready to react on the fly. It may be the one part of our game I think we're still needing to focus on. And if Mia's our igniter, cool. That's a heck of an igniter. So just be ready to catch whatever Mia's cooking, but Mia, be ready to adapt. You've got to be ready to adapt. And I hope you listen to this. I'm going to shove it in your nose so you can listen. But I have faith. I have such faith in this team. And no matter what happens, team, I'm proud of you. And I value our time together. And regardless of which four kids, when we're done, regardless of which kids are on stage when we're done, whether it's the first show or the championship, I'm proud of you all. Go out there and be proud of yourselves because you'll always play your best when you're proud and you're listening. How about A-Tech then? Let's go with A-Tech. This is a team that I also really enjoy watching and have had a nice lawn trek up this mountain of awesomeness that is the Improv Plateau. Now they're looking down and seeing a lot of teams below them. What do you think they need to be doing to make sure they stay atop their peak?
Well, I would argue that ATEC probably is one of the teams, if not the team, that missed the opportunity to show what they got last year in the
I
playoffs.
agree with you. What a
Yeah.
tragedy.
And ATEC also was top five last year. If you remember
Mhm.
me calling out the top five last year when we presented to Cimarron. So I think they're hungry.
Mhm.
I knowing them, they're also nervous, but this is also a veteran squad that just has been doing amazing work for 2 years now, at least, ready to just make this thing their baby.
Oh
So
yeah.
um, I wonder how scary they're going to be, because I think they're going to be scary. Uh,
Yeah.
let's see what they do with. I mean, too many good pieces to argue with. So ATEC, this is yours, baby. Go get them.
Ooh, there you go. There you go. We're seeing a little bit of a pattern, but there's one more. And they're a team called Durango. And Durango has been almost professional level all year, you want to say.
Yep.
What else can we say? We've talked about him every week with with the fact that there's two bona fide MVPs nominees on their team, and that number could be growing just based on how many lessons are being absorbed by the players around them. It's a great program. They're yes anding with the best of them, and I remember I went back and I watched that game you wanted us to watch of Durango doing. Oh goodness, now I already lost which game it was, but you probably knew where I was going with that. Where Maya was a
Ryan, I
whale.
mean,
Maya and Emmy were both in it. Oh, it was Dime Store Novel.
I'm sure.
Oh man, And yeah, as an adult who's been doing improv for 10 plus years, watching them still teaches me things this year, watching them do stuff. And I've told my kids to watch them. We've told the league to watch them. What do they need to do to not let this opportunity slip through their fingers?
You know, I think Maya and Emmy, even, I mean, there's has to be at least a little bit of, man, me and you have just been through so much together.
Dudes.
Like there's a
Yeah.
little bit of that where there's probably like a smile about it, but there's also kind of like a, ah, we've done too much together. Like,
Ah, interesting.
right? So I think there's a little bit of that, but when it comes time to play, they know how to play.
Mm.
And that's what it is. I heard Emmy say a couple of weeks ago in between games and recordings where she was reminiscing about something, and actually she was reminiscing about something where she's like, man, the good old days. And it's just like, it's cool to hear us talk about the good old days, but you got to remember that we're all they're 17.
Yeah,
Right?
let's calm down with the good old part.
Yeah, and I'm not taking away what Emmy was talking about because I get it. I remember the good old days. Everything makes me cry. So I this was passed along to me, and I don't know if the league has even seen this before, but this was passed along to me. This is back when Maya and Emmy and Haley Reno were auditioning for America's Got Talent.
Oh
Um,
boy.
and this was a newspaper article that came out in California where they were in the newspaper article.
Wow. Reno
Um,
shaved their
so
head.
when we talk about a team that's really kind of done a lot, that's
Yeah.
Durango. Um, now to at least translate over into playoffs. Uh, Last year there were no playoffs technically. The year before that, Durango met a first ranked Northwest in the second round,
The
which
show of the year.
which was the show of the year, and actually it's been the highest scored show in our Jesters history.
Yeah.
So
I
Maya and
believe it.
Emmy, if we're talking about the past, like sophomore, junior, now senior year, have only won one playoff show. So
Whoa.
that's very interesting to think about. Now their freshman year, they made it to the Final Four,
Right.
and they were interchangeably in that lineup because Karina had a lot of other tools with Song and Mariah and so on. So there's got to be some hunger. Alicia is amazing. Josh is amazing. Robert, Demetrius, they're amazing. So we'll see. We'll see what they come up with. So they would have been in the championship with Cimarron had we been able to pull off the championship last year.
Right.
So
Well, I can't. I've interacted with the Durango kids only a spare amount. And I'm one of those weird folks who I tend to look at people, and no matter how old they are or how much their experience level is, I feel like I want to learn from them. So I always get butterflies around in Maya and Emmy sorry, I don't know why I did that. Because they're both like I look up to them as improvisers because of what they are able to provide to the people around them. They truly have grown this program through their example, and I admire it tremendously. I warn every team out there in the league to really do their homework on Durango. Like, just do it, please. If you want to have a championship experience that you'll be proud of, know what you're up against. This is a team that's creating on some unprecedented levels right now. Let's see if they can carry the momentum. I wish them luck because even as a coach in this league, I love watching fantastic improv first, and we cannot wait to see how this bracket shakes down. And that caps off our first round recap. Good luck to all. I have one more question. I alluded to it a couple times. Just one more quote Kopy query just for fun. A lot of these teams that go into the playoffs, they get this sort of bee in their bonnet. They get stunned by the idea that they need to push their jokes to a specific different point, that they want to swing for the fences, sure. And in their mind, swing for the fences means say something kind of sketchy, risque, off color. And comedy is comedy. I get it. But taste is a word I asked you to continue to have in your mind. And tonight, I want to urge to the league through your message, Kopy. What does it mean to remain tasteful while you're vying for a championship? How can a joke be steered away from a precarious place into a more safe water while you're up there hunting for a trophy?
Well, inevitably there are mistakes,
Yep.
and that just happens sometimes.
So.
Um, but especially at this point in the year, we really see a lot fewer and farther of those between, or you get what I'm saying. Don't
Sure.
happen as often.
Right.
Um, and that's awesome. Sometimes profanity or things that aren't tasteful are a part of our experience, unfortunately. So sometimes that's what we rely on. Like
Hmm.
that's honestly, some of you students just have potty mouths, and that's right. And learning how to be tasteful with it is definitely an art form. There's a student that I still won't call her real name. It's been 8 years. I called her potty mouth when she was a student, and she called me the other day. She just moved back to Vegas. She's now 26 or whatever she is, 25. I still call her potty mouth. I won't call her by her real name.
Awesome.
So it's being tasteful is difficult, but it can be done. And the segue is not bad here. If you want to watch a team that knows how to push the line and make it tasteful on the other side of it, watch Durango.
Hmm.
I mean, the past couple of weeks, Karina called me before week 8 and said, "Hey, I've got a definite potty mouth foul." Um, no, they didn't. I just they know how to cover, and and you know what? This one broke Maya. Like Maya was the one that said it, and she had a moment of no, we have to stop the show immediately. But the team just kept going because they know how to do it. Um, and it no wasn't potty mouth.
And I guess to kind of steer what I was hoping for, I'm gonna say I always recommend when students are about to step on that ledge and they have this really fun joke and they can't wait to spout it. I gotta urge them to take a second and think: is there a different way I can say this that takes the blatant vulgarity or maybe the harshness of the underlying message out of it? It just depends on what taste they're verging on inhibiting. Um, but we've seen it in the playoffs, right? We've seen a couple of key people. I've seen a curse word in the playoffs. I mean, this is where we see people trying a little too hard. So, can you give anything at all to how somebody can mentally filter themselves, apart from avoiding those things, which we don't necessarily want to encourage because we want kids to swing? What do you have to say? Anything at all?
Yeah, I mean, from the improv technical side of it, is secondary thinking is always going to get you out of it. If
Cool.
something slips, what else can it mean? Okay, so what else
Exactly.
can you do with it? Where else can you take it? That's why I'm complimenting Durangos, because they know how to take anything anywhere and make it all fit. So if I were to say what they were saying, like the things that they said just right now, isolated, yes, you would go, wait a minute, never.
Right.
But there's a way. There's always a way. So yeah, you can get there. Just yes and your way out of it. The same way that you get into a scene and you go, man, what do I say? You yes and your way somewhere, right?
Yep.
Same
One
thing here.
one of my favorites is break the fourth wall a tad. I've seen it a couple times where a student can just kind of call out what just happened and go, "Oh, well, we'll leave that there." And on this side, what if we went it from this angle? So if you can stop that momentum enough to give a giggle and laugh at the moment and what it could have been, that awareness alone can save a second. So have fun, be safe, be careful with what you say, keep it tasteful. Champions are tasteful. I think we've done an amazing job. I asked us not to have a 3-hour recording, Kopy, and we're at a cool 2-hour 31, baby. We're on this.
Yep.
So, what do you think? Anything else you want to discuss as we get ready to say goodbye to the 2020-2021 regular season and hello to the 2021 playoffs? At long last, the 12th season of High School Jesters is going to end in an actual championship in person. It's the greatest thing that could have possibly happened to us. Let us please have an amazing championship. Anything that you want to say as we get ready to part?
We're getting ready. Be excited. I mean, we're literally putting together the face shields as we speak. I mean,
Some assembly required.
yeah, we're we're excited. Hopefully you guys are excited as well. I love it. This is definitely the best time of the year.
It
So
will be an amazing experience watching these playoffs unfold. Can't wait to see everybody in person. Remember, folks, stay safe, stay smart, stay improvisationally sound. And this has been an amazing regular season. King Kopy, thanks for being with me every week, chatting with me about what the league looks like. And students, go out there and give it everything you got because you deserve it. The league deserves it. And let's just have a good, clean playoff. We will see you guys next week with a recap of what happened in week 1 and a breakdown of what could happen in week 2. And just go out there and do you. We are so excited to see it. And I guess we'll leave it there. So I'm Warren Sprague, Coach Dub, and we'll see you guys next time on Just to Recap. Bye bye. So thirsty.